It felt wrong. So that was my initial reaction. Now we're at the point where there's 25 women. There's women that are putting their name out there and speaking out.
Yeah.
So now it feels more real. I need to see how it all plays out. I don't want to take his side and be like, nope, I felt weird about it. I'm going to defend him, because if there are women that were actually out there that he hurt or assaulted or fucked over in any way, he can't get away with it. He doesn't. But no matter how high your status is, you don't deserve to get away for mistreating anybody.
No.
So it's so unfortunate, because it is someone that I respected and loved so much. And the fact that we kind of have to watch how this plays out, it's a situation.
What's cooking, everybody? I am joined in the bunker today by the one, the only, Miss Jordyn Erard Coupe. She's got like a really fun name to say. It's very wholesome. It's got the accent on the end. It really gets the people going. Anyway, name aside, Jordyn is the football gal. In fact, she's such a football gal that she has 2 shows on football, specifically the NFL. The first is a YouTube show that she is the sole host of, called Sporty Jordy, all one word, and I will have the links to the shows in the description so you can check them out, and they're highly entertaining. The second show, she co-hosts with Kaylee Chakowski once a week on Wednesday nights, where they live stream on Twitch, and it's then available on Apple and Spotify afterwards, and it's a podcast called Onside Chicks, and again, talking everything NFL. Now, I recognize that we are about 45, 46, 47, whatever it is, episodes into this podcast, and we haven't really had a pure sports episode or sports conversation. And some people have hit me up about that, complaining, saying, come on, let's work that in there. You're kind of missing that. And look, you don't have to ask me twice. I love talking sports, and I don't get to do it as much as I used to. So I love when I have the excuse to be able to do it on camera, on mic, with somebody else who's very passionate about it as well. Now, seeing as Jordyn is a football expert, and seeing as the NFL draft just took place a couple days ago, and it is therefore draft season right now, I figured what better time than to have a way too early for the NFL season, off-season-ish, talk on football and what's going to happen this year and what we're thinking. So brought in Jordyn, had a lot of fun, covered everything, including the draft, which, by the way, about 10 or 11 minutes in, we started to talk about the draft for 60 seconds, and it will sound like we're about to make predictions on a draft that already now happened, because we were recording 2 days before the draft. So then we got sidebarred on a big national story that was also affecting our favorite team, the Eagles, which is the whole Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts thing. So we talked about that for 15 minutes, and you'll notice when we come back to the draft, that's when I say, by the way, the draft is going to be out when this comes out, so let's just talk about the players in it and what we think and give some predictions there and just have a nice conversation about the entire process itself. So again, it's all time-oriented or whatever the word is. So talked about that, and among some other things we got into, we did talk about the DeShaun Watson situation as well, which is obviously very serious and an ongoing investigation and something that really does need to be talked about. And so I was happy that Jordyn brought that up, and we had a chance to run through what we know so far and give some thoughts on the matter. And obviously I hope, I don't even know what I hope in that situation, because it's going to be a bad outcome no matter what, which you'll understand when we talk about that, why I say that. But really enjoyed this, and I will have Jordyn in again, probably I'm thinking beginning of the NFL season, to give some early season predictions. Anyway, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And if you're on YouTube right now, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button, and leave a like and comment on the video if you would, please. To everyone who has left a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts, thank you. They're amazing. They help for new listeners who are coming to the page for the first time and thinking, am I going to give this show a try? And they read those comments and they go, okay, I'll give it a couple minutes. And then I think if they give it a couple minutes, I feel like we got them. I feel like they're in our community. So to all the people who have done that, thank you. If you haven't had a chance to do that yet and could take a second to fill one out, I would really, really appreciate it. That said, you know what it is. I'm Julian Dorey, and this is TRENDIFIER. Let's go! This is one of the great questions in our culture. Where is the nuance? understands this, but few seem to do it. If you don't like the status quo, start asking questions. For this upcoming season, by the way.
Okay.
Let's just get right into it.
All right.
I got a lot of questions.
All right.
Because I'm going to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
Last year, with Corona, I watched some games in the background.
Yeah.
I really couldn't do it. And this isn't just football, it's all sports. It looked stupid to me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anybody's fault. But I saw fucking cardboard figures in the stands, and I'm like, this is not real.
Yeah, every game kind of felt like a scrimmage. And this season was weird too, just because no preseason, none of that. It felt like up until week 5 or 6, we didn't even know like which teams were actually good. Like I felt like betting, like the first couple weeks, I'd be like, oh, this team came out hot. Like they're going to be great. And then nobody could just get into their own groove. Like I think because they didn't get the preseason games that they were used to, and we joke about how stupid preseason is, and it kind of is for us, but I think it just emphasized how important it actually is for them, because one day they'd come out looking great. For example, the Packers, first couple weeks, they were great, and then they were iffy. The Bucks, I was so excited to see the Bucks weeks 1 and 2, and they came out. Tom Brady and Mike Evans couldn't connect, and I was like, what is going on here? Like, and it took until like midway through the season for teams to actually find out like who they were. So I think that made it difficult too, because you just never knew what you were going to get, and it didn't feel consistent at all.
The restrictions behind the scenes too weren't helpful.
Yeah.
And like obviously that's what they had to do, because it's a lawyer society. No one wants to get sued. The NFL is a big organization.
Definitely.
Very easy to get sued. So the shit they had to put these players through, which is really beyond ridiculous.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is. You know, testing
it was
them
brutal.
3 times a day. They had to, I mean, it's tough building relationships too when you're literally masked up everywhere you go, and it's like, all right, we're going to sequester this position group in that room, and then we're not doing a full team meeting today. Like there was regular bullshit like that. And so you're trying to get these teams on the same page, and then here's the other thing. And I tried to walk some other people through this, and they weren't really buying it. So if you don't buy it, come back at me with it. But I think a lot of what these guys built themselves off of, and I don't think this is bad at all. Like I think this is like kind of a beautiful thing, is they work their entire lives to get to this level, get to the top of their sport, whatever it is, NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB. And the whole thing is like, you're a name. You're playing in front of hundreds of thousands of people, or 30,000 people if it's basketball or something like that. And there's like this thing with it. Getting yourself worked up for a game where no one's going to be in there watching you, I don't care how much money you're getting paid. I'm talking about from a mental standpoint. It's like, it's this huge letdown.
No, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And I think that honestly, and like, I don't want to just go right into Philly, but I think that played a huge part in Philly specifically, because our fan base, we're nuts, to put it quite frankly. And I think, like the year we won our Super Bowl, I think half of that was momentum from the fans being there.
Oh, 100%.
And it was the energy in the stadium. So you take that away from teams, that changes things, and it changes your mentality in the game, and not being able to hear boos or hear chants. And it makes it feel not less important, but less real, I would say.
The best was the artificial crowd noise.
Oh, it was brutal. It was brutal.
God.
It was brutal. And I get what they were trying to do, and I know they had to do it. And I think they did the best they could with what they had, but it was weird. I didn't like it at all.
The cardboard, that really... Yeah, that was... I don't know whose idea that was, but it looked straight out of Black Mirror.
And it really did. It was kind of freaky. It was a little creepy. And the NBA, I really don't like what they do, where they have like the random heads on the screen, and it's just people sitting in the living room like cheering.
Remember Lil Wayne just ripping a blunt?
Yes. And I'm like, this is so unnecessary.
I did enjoy that. It makes
for entertainment.
It does. And that's the other thing. Like in the NBA, and everyone's going to say right away, oh, here we go, it's because LeBron won or whatever. No, like LeBron won the title under the circumstances that he was given to. He has no control over that, and he deserved the title. It doesn't change the fact that he won the title in a gym that was lesser than Lifetime in the Sky in New York City, where they play pickup with J. Cole in the summer.
Yes. No, literally.
I mean, it was embarrassing.
It was like a high school basketball game where only like a couple parents decide to go.
And you know what? That night, this is a big symbol for the state of our country, but that was like October, I guess. So that night, I think it was Anderson Cooper and Tucker Carlson who were on at the same time on CNN and Fox. I think like 10 million people watched those two, and then 300,000 people watched the basketball game. And I don't think that's because they don't like basketball. I think it's because they're looking at it going, that's a goddamn gym.
Yes.
Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, no, and by the time, because after I remember when the virus was first hitting, I found out I got an extra week of spring break. All my professors were like, we're probably going to be back. It's fine. Me and my friends were like, great, an extra week of spring break. We're literally buying tickets. We were going to go to Dallas, and we were going to have a girls' weekend in Dallas. Like, we didn't know how serious it was. So
were you down? Were you down in Fort Lickerdale with everybody?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't on camera going, if I get corona, I get corona?
No.
You sure?
I never made it down there. I literally had plane tickets in my cart. I was ready to book it.
You intended to go down there.
Intended 100% to go down, and then all of a sudden I get the notification the NBA just shut down as I'm literally in the middle of booking this trip, and I call my friend and I was like, Becca, I don't think we should be doing this right now. I think this is more serious than we like actually thought. And then it was like blow after blow. Then March Madness got shut down. So at that point, the NBA was shut down. Then they go into the bubble, and then they came back. Everyone was kind of out of it by the time the finals actually happened. And I just think everyone's mind was in different places, and the league fell out of place. It just felt wrong.
And it's not their fault.
It wasn't their fault.
It's none of their faults. And by the way, credit to the NBA and Adam Silver, because I don't think they had one case of corona while they were down there.
Yeah, no, I'm not knocking. When I tell you they did everything they could to make it work and bring it back and finish, like they could have just called the season quits and been like, you know what, this is a wash. And I
kind of wish they did, to be honest.
They could have, and I think them pushing through, I think, was the right move at the end of the day, just to say they did it. But the season really was a wash. Like. It doesn't mean as much as it would have personally. That's why for the Super Bowl this season, I was like, who cares? Just send the Chiefs back, because their team just got a Super Bowl parade. They got to enjoy it a little bit, and Tampa made it work with the boats. But it's like stuff like that. It's like you're kind of taking away part of the experience of it all.
It's also in Florida.
Like,
anything goes in Florida.
Where COVID does not exist anymore.
And I'm not saying like that's right, but they're doing it better than other places did it, because at least like there's some normalcy and not just like locking down at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, still in the Super Bowl though, it was in Tampa, and it was still like really limited and not as many people in there. So it was better in the NBA.
Yeah.
I'll give them that. But it was also, like 5 months later, something like that?
No, it's been this whole year. I'm hoping, honestly, because we've seen baseball games in Texas full capacity. Like, literally stacked. And I'm hoping, honestly, not that I want to see and like the Miami Dolphins got cleared midway through the season last year, that they could their stadium could have been in full capacity, and they were just choosing not to, probably for the right reasons at the time, because things were still pretty intense. But I'm hoping that we get to see more of that fan interaction, because it plays such a huge role. Even if you're just sitting at home watching, seeing fans there, seeing people excited and cheering, having directors to have something to cut to instead of a cardboard, like seeing those live reactions, that means something.
Well, now that we're all getting vaccinated, like, do you think this fall we're going to be somewhat close to normal?
I think so.
I agree.
I think this summer is going to be the last. I think we're going to be right on the verge. We're going to be moving in the right direction. But by fall, and that might be wishful thinking. That might just be me kind of done with it. But
do you know the comedian Andrew Schultz?
Yes.
So you see the song he just released?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't see this?
No.
Oh my God, it's the greatest thing. I can't play it because it's on YouTube, so it's his content, but it's called "Open Her Up."
Oh my God,
that's exactly what it sounds like.
All right.
It's, to me, I see that over 80 million, or I think maybe 90 million now of us are vaccinated or at fully vaccinated capacity. And however you say it. And probably within the next 3-4 months, it's reasonable to see that we're going to add another 60, 70 to that figure. And it's like, at that point, let's go, baby.
I honestly think at that point, it's everyone's choice whether or not they want to go out. Because at this point, the government's done everything they can do. They've provided the vaccines. It's your choice whether you want to get it or not. And if you don't get it, if you do get it, there's really nothing more we can do past that point. So I'm on the fence of open her up, open everything back up, because at this point, like, what, we can't keep hiding. I want my normal life back.
I know.
I'm vaccinated officially. So
you're fully there.
I'm fully there.
I still gotta get fully there.
Yeah.
I'm locked in here too much, but it is like, I did find out it's like 10 minutes down the road. I can go get it pretty easily.
Yeah, no, mine was, I told you that story. My work said they were going to it was going to be a vaccination event. And
I did not hear this story.
Oh my God. My work said,
I did hear this, but tell it. Yeah.
My work was like, we're going to do a whole vaccination event. Because I work like with the public. Like, I deal with a lot of people every day. So they were like, we're going to have this whole event. You can all go get vaccinated if you want. Like, we're just trying to make it easy for you guys. And we were like, wow, like, thank you so much. It wasn't a freaking event. It was literally just a place in Philly, and they just got us slots. But we waited in this long line, and I had to, like, I could have just gone, like, made a reservation at CVS or whatever to get my vaccination. But I drove into Philly, did the whole thing, waited in line forever, but it is
confusing, like how many different places you can get. I've seen people just like walk into offices and like get it.
Yeah, no,
I've seen people on lines around the corner like that.
Yeah.
It seems like there's all these different outlets to get it, and there's not like a just go right here.
Yeah. No, and that's what my dad was like, get on the list, I was like, how do I get on a list? So like, I was like trying to look into that, and then my work came out and told us. So I went with that route, and it worked out. I got it. It's done. Everything's fine. But it was much more of a hassle than I was expecting originally.
But it's done.
It's done. We got there.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're good. We're getting back to
So
normal.
I fully intend on attending at least 1 or 2 football games. This year.
Now, speaking of football games, though, as I got off track there for a
minute.
All
right.
But this upcoming season, first of all, let's start with the draft.
Okay.
Because that's right around the corner here.
Yeah.
What's happening there? We know Trevor Lawrence is going first.
Yeah, without
Everyone's
question.
been trading around.
Yeah.
Including the Eagles.
The Chiefs is the newest one, literally
what
today.
What did the Chiefs do?
The Chiefs traded with the Ravens, so they gave up their first round pick, and they were 31st. So.
So they're the back end.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they made a big move today, and honestly, I have a feeling that's going to be one of a couple that are still, whatever we're looking at today is not going to be the draft order.
No.
On the 29th when it starts. I fully believe that. No. There's no way, the Falcons, there's no way they're staying at 4. With them coming out and saying they're open to trading, there's going to be a team, even if it's on draft night, that gets so desperate because with a draft that's this quarterback heavy, there's going to be a team that's going to get so desperate they will give up way too much to move up into that number 4 spot and secure something.
It's amazing how much people, and speaking as an Eagles fan, we've seen ourselves how much they mortgage the future for quarterbacks. Now, I know it is the most critical position in sports. I get that. But you see teams mortgage the future on like the 3rd quarterback coming off the board. If there are 3-4 quarterbacks taken in the first round every year, how many of them are going to be top 5, top 10 quarterbacks and make a difference in this league?
One of them might not even be.
That's what I'm saying. You might miss on 3-4 years in a row because these guys can also have the longest career possible.
Yeah.
So it's like, I get it, but you got to be so fucking careful with that, man, because it's not like they're trading like, oh, we're going to trade our 3rd round pick this year with our 1st round pick for a higher one. No, they're trading like the next 2 first rounders. They're throwing players in there.
Yeah.
They're throwing in later round picks, which are all tickets to the lottery. It can affect your franchise for 10 years.
Absolutely. I think we're going to be dealing with this Carson Wentz situation. We're paying him $30 million to play in Indianapolis right now.
And then they're done, right? After that first year.
And then they're done, yep. And then we have compensation. We don't know for next year. It's Carson Wentz either has to play, I believe he has to play for 70% of this season, or he has to play for 75% of the season, or he has to play for 70% of the season, and they have to make the playoffs.
Yes.
And we get a 1st round. If that doesn't happen, we get a 2nd round next year. And then we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but
that went downhill fast.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. Do I dare ask where you stand on that? Were you a fan of getting rid of Carson Wentz?
I was a fan of his.
Okay.
I don't love getting rid of him. The thing is, like when I was growing up, that's all I did was sports. Mm-hmm. All I did. And obviously this past year has been weird because I haven't been doing as much, like not paying as much attention because A, I'm busy here, and B, what we already talked about.
Yeah.
But see, when he got a lot of shit post the Super Bowl for those 2 seasons, I kind of saw that coming because when we went to win it, I'm like, he's never going to be able to get away from that.
Yeah.
He got injured and he wasn't there. And so he's going to live his career in Philadelphia trying to chase that ghost that he'll never be able to catch in that way. Because, you know, people who don't live in Philly don't understand what a big deal that was. That was one of the greatest days of my life.
Oh, my mom looked at me. I'm her firstborn daughter. My mother looked at me and goes, "This is better than the day you were born." I said, "Fair." Like, fair. I understand it.
Because you're also here with her too. Yes. So it's like it's a whole different level. So I knew that was going to be an issue, and there's a lot behind the scenes there that I have questions about. But he always handled everything in public very, very classily and did not go out of his way to change narratives. And B, those 2 years, so I guess I'm talking about 2018, 2019, what worried me and what made me think this is going to go south is that when you look at his statistics, to say nothing of some of the fucking people he was throwing to, which was...
Our practice squad.
Yeah, no, there was a point where like they could have taken me off the street and we'd have been all right. But, and you know, not really, but you know what I mean. But you take that all into account. Statistically, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL both years. And I'm like, we are giving him this much shit when he's putting up numbers like that. Like even that first year, 2018, when he got injured against the Cowboys and then was out the rest of the year and Foles took over again, I think he was at like 23 touchdowns and 7 picks in like 12 games.
No, that it literally infuriates me because I get 2020 was rough. 2020 was rough for our entire team, but and Carson Wentz wasn't good this season, but I can't sit here and put
this year it was bad.
This year it was bad, but I can't sit here and put all of the blame on him. There were so many things wrong, and I could go on a whole tangent just about that. But what upsets me the most is everyone just kind of forgot 2019 already. Yep. 2019, our entire team was injured.
They died.
Yes.
They all died.
We were literally pulling guys off of our practice squad like the day of games, and Carson Wentz still got us to the playoffs. We would not have gotten there if it wasn't for him. And I fully believe, you can hate on me for this all you want, I fully believe if he didn't go down in that game against the Seahawks, we would have moved on. Not that we would have had this insane Super Bowl.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Because we were doing great in that game up until he got his concussion.
And that's the thing. There was a lot of bad luck with him. But the one thing I will say, and this isn't a shot at him, but this is a tough town to play in.
It is. Because
we know our shit here. And I lived up in New York after college and lived there for 5 years, and they're great sports fans. But it's not like here. No. I'm not just saying that because I'm from here. I'm saying like it is not life and death like it is here. And with him, he doesn't have that dog thing. He doesn't have that I'm going to fucking die to win, not literally, but you know what I mean. I'm going to fucking die to win this game because it's what it's about. And he had shown some signs of that early in his career, but when some of the shit hit the fan, he never responded to it well. I don't think he was responding to it badly. He just didn't.
He was being too nice about it.
Exactly. Like he's too nice of a guy. He's a Midwestern, you know.
Yeah.
That doesn't work here. It just, I'm not saying you can't adjust. I mean, we've had, I guess, where was Ron Jaworski from? Like Missouri?
I think so.
You know, and
somewhere
he didn't have anywhere near that kind of talent, and he had a pretty good career because he was a dog. He adjusted. Yeah. You know, like he had that built in. We're famous for the Broad Street Bullies here. No, they're from Canada, so they're savages. But you know, in hockey, it's like you have to have that, and he didn't. And so I was happy for him that he could go somewhere else and. No disrespect, but could go to a very soft town where they don't really give a fuck, like Indianapolis.
No, that's fair. That's very fair. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think it says a lot about him. But it was definitely the moment I found out that he got traded, I'm not going to lie, I broke down in tears. I was sitting on my couch and just because like we knew it was coming and it was like, it's going to happen this week. It's going to happen at the end of this week. And then it didn't happen. And then there were talks that everybody pulled out. So I kind of got my hopes up. Then on the other hand, I was like, is it even good if he stays? Because the relationship is so torn. Like, is it even worth it for him to still be here? So I was like caught in this in between, like I didn't even know what to feel. And then I got notification after notification. All my friends immediately started texting me and they were like, "Are you alive?" And I just cried because I thought he was the future of our organization. I think there were a lot of other factors that kind of ruined that really ruined that. But it's fine. I'll get over it.
Well, we're talking Philly right now, which we want to stay national, but these are actually this is like a main story going on in the NFL right now. So let's stay with it.
All right.
Those other factors you're talking about, are you referring to Howie Roseman?
Oh, yeah, my least favorite person on the face of this earth.
Howie Roseman is the cockroach on the Titanic.
Yeah.
You know, they went back out there to find the ruins underneath the goddamn sea 80 years later, and the cockroach is still somehow swimming on top of the water, alive. He doesn't die. He doesn't go away. He outlives and outlasts everyone. Shit, when he got demoted with Chip Kelly back in the day and then masterfully won his whole role back, you know, they still didn't fire him. They still at least let him be the I think it was literally the equipment manager or some shit like that. Like, he definitely was like in the back layer as a businessman and like a cutthroat executive, one of the best I've ever seen. As a football guy, embarrassingly bad with few exceptions.
Yeah. I know more about football than Howie Roseman does, to put it quite frankly. There are so many decisions that he has made that I can't even wrap my head around. And what's upsetting me the most right now is the fact, the press conference that just happened a couple days ago, Nick Sirianni, for them to come out and to sit there and say, our drafts have been successful.
Oh, yeah, that was comical.
I said, oh, really? So you have no idea what's going on the last couple of years. Where have you been, sweetie? Because I hate to break it to you, we have been so far from successful.
One of the things you can't have in sports organizations, though, is where the owner is hands-on and in control. It never goes well.
And that's what Howie is, Jeff's yes man.
Yep.
And then I believe, I am 100% convinced the only reason Nick Sirianni got this job is because he will be their yes man. Like, he will fall in line. And that... it may work just because if they're all on the same page, maybe it'll be better, but I just can't see it working. That's not how you run an organization. You need to all have your own opinions and you need to be able to talk about it and then figure out what's best, what's going to help take your team forward.
What's funny is, Roseman aside, who again can't die, for years, that's what made the Eagles actually good for it after years of being not good, is Lurie was very hands off.
Yeah.
He let Joe Banner run the operation. He wanted stability with Andy Reid. He even wanted that with Chip Kelly, and it went south, right? Now, there's a story I heard from a really good source that I trust that's like the prime example of this. But probably the worst football player I've ever seen the Eagles draft in any round, bar none, and there have been some bad ones, is JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
Oh, yeah.
He can't play.
Yeah.
No. I mean, he is the worst football player I think I have ever seen.
Yeah, no,
and no disrespect,
comical.
No disrespect to the guy. Can't play. And people take this as you will. I'm not going to reveal who it was, so if you don't want to believe me, no problem. But apparently, they wanted Metcalf. And actually, Roseman wanted him too, and Peterson wanted him, so they actually agreed on something. And they were thinking about pulling the trigger in the first round, but they didn't because there was a little concern with his neck injury, and they're like, all right, we don't want to take that press, whatever. So it gets to the second round, and they're trying to trade up the entire round to get him. And then he gets within 2 picks of them, and they realize, holy shit, he's going to be there when they're there. They're fucking celebrating, all excited. Jeff Lurie comes in, and apparently he had talked to Whiteside at some point, like at the combine or something. He goes, I like that JJ kid, we're going to take him.
No, I don't know who your source was, but I've heard the exact same story. And that's kind of what frustrates me too. And I really don't even like to give Howie Roseman any credit anymore, just because he's pissed me off so many times. But I want to hate him for that, and you want to yell at him for it. But I've heard from credible people that was not a Howie move. And then that's what makes me super nervous too, just because, and that's where it feels like we're at right now. It feels like every single person is on a different page. And for Jeff Lurie to come out right now and say, Jalen Hurts is our guy moving forward, let's build a team around Jalen Hurts. But then you have Howie, who's still trying to trade up to take a quarterback. And
why is your owner picking your quarterback?
Yeah, no,
that's my problem.
Yeah.
When they won the Super Bowl, something changed. And he's well liked by a lot of people, nice guy. It's not a shot at Lurie personally, and he was a great owner for years. And something over you saw it embarrassing Peterson in public by making him fire his coaches the day after he said, I'm not doing that. That was Lurie coming in and doing that. He totally turned over a bad new leaf. Yeah. And he's become this Dan Snyder type.
Do you want to know what I think we won the Super Bowl. I think he got power hungry.
Yep.
And I think it all went to his head, and now he's so hands-on. He's got his hands around the throat of this team, trying to, like, keep up that mentality, but all it's doing is crushing us. Like, he is literally burning his own organization down from the top to the bottom.
Yeah. Well, back to the draft once again, because we're going to stay talking about the Eagles forever if we keep doing this. But this is going to be coming out after the draft was done. So we'll stay away from like, oh, do I think this team's going to trade up for this guy or whatever. I want to talk about some of the players.
All right.
Because that's where the hot stove's going to be cooking until we start seeing them play in the fall. First of all, are you a Trevor Lawrence person?
I'm a huge Trevor Lawrence person.
Am I out of my mind, or is he everything that they are saying he is?
No, he is, I think, everything and more. Yeah. And just because he has all of the package, you can compare him to Andrew Luck. You can compare him to Peyton Manning. He has all of those capabilities. We're at the point as an NFL quarterback, you need to be able to be mobile, and you also need to be able to drop back and pass. But it can't just be one or the other. Like, you have to be able to have that whole package. And he not only has that whole package, but he came out, we saw him as a true freshman come out and play like he knew exactly what he was doing. So I think that kind of mentality and that poise and that leadership is going to transfer beautifully over to the NFL, especially this one we can talk about. We know he's going to Jacksonville. They can't mess that up.
They can't mess that up.
They can't mess that up. They're not going to. There's no way. So he's going to come into that organization that's definitely been in the midst of a rebuild for a very long time. And I think he's just going to take them and move them in the direction that they need to go.
Yeah, he's also way more mobile than people realize, too. He can move.
Yes.
I was just Googling. I was trying to find his 40-yard dash while you were talking, because I don't think he ran it at the Combine, but in the past he had run a 4.7. I think he's faster than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, I want to say it was the national title, the one they lost a couple years ago. He had that one rip around the end, and I mean, he put the burners on the whole defense.
Yeah, and that's the thing with him, too. It's like, I don't even think we've seen, which is scary to even think about. I don't even think we've seen everything that he's capable of. Like, I think he is going to come into the NFL and flourish just because he's going to know in the back of his mind, this is my team. And Jacksonville is at that point. They have Urban Meyer. You have him. If it doesn't work, like, this is they're going to build that entire team around Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
If the coaches isn't working, Trevor Lawrence will be able to determine who. Like, they will do anything to make him work, and they're going to build completely around him. So he's going to come out there. I think he's going to experiment a little bit. He's going to see what works best for him, which is exactly what he has to do when you want to take this team that's been so unfortunately shitty for a very long time. They had the one
year.
2017, I think it was.
Because their defense was ridiculously good. Yep.
But, like, this is a team that struggled. We haven't seen, other than that one, like, you had that excitement, but this is a team that deserves it, and I'm excited for them.
They also had an absolute asshole in there. In Doug Marrone.
Oh, yeah.
My buddy Chaz, who was on this podcast, played for Marrone at Syracuse, and I finally got him to say something publicly about what an ass clown he was. And that guy, the thing about him is everywhere he went, from Syracuse to the Buffalo Bills, which was like sketchy how he left there, to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
Never compliments following him out the door when he left. And so he's clearly a very, very good football mind, because everywhere he goes, he brings new success.
Yeah.
Right? So Syracuse turned them around, left. Buffalo started to turn them around, started to go south, left. Jacksonville started to turn them around big time, went south, got fired.
Yeah.
Right? So he built a bad culture there. They lost all their talent, and now, bringing in Urban's going to be interesting.
I know. He's what I'm more. Trevor Lawrence, I'm 100% sold on. Urban, I'm a little. Not that I'm like against him. I just don't know how he's going to be as an NFL coach.
It is definitely, we're scarred from Chip Kelly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like, I have that in the back of my head. So I'm a little nervous. I'm hoping, because imagine how perfect it would be if he comes in, if him and Trevor Lawrence create this beautiful relationship and they put together, like, that could be such an incredible story. And I hope it works out that way. But I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on what he's going to do. I hope he proves me wrong and he just sits back and they can, because I don't think they're going to come out and be good this year, even with Trevor Lawrence.
No, they got a lot of work to do on that roster.
Yeah,
they lost everybody.
They had James Robinson, who was a unsigned agent unsigned rookie that they brought in that did great for them. I got him on my fantasy team week 3, and that was like the best pickup I ever made. But just because he was so low key, there were so many big injuries that season, so like he kind of snuck in and did wonders for me. But they have a lot of work to do. They have a lot of room to grow.
They have a lot of draft picks, right?
They do. They're
11
sitting
or something.
Yeah, they're in a good position.
Yeah. Urban's going to be interesting because I can't believe his wife let him take that job.
I know.
Because like he's not. That's a real thing. He is one of my friends who I don't know if I have permission to say his name, so I won't say who it was, but I'll ask and then on a future podcast say. One of my friends worked for him for a year and loves him. Nothing but respect for him. Said he's everything you could dream of and more. But he's like, he came back and the first conversation I had with him after that is he said, Julian, you have never seen a human being so intense in your life. He's like, I understand why this guy has health problems. He's out of his fucking mind. Like he's great.
Yeah.
Great guy. Out of his fucking mind. And he said the other thing is, because Urban gets a lot of shit for like the 07-08 Florida team where they had a lot of interesting characters on that team who didn't do nice things off the field. At Ohio State, none of that. Yeah. And like I think that's also in the back of his head. So he's like all about these guys. He's all over them off the field and everything. I almost said his name. My buddy said he was like, I can honestly tell you, obviously there's the things you never hear about, but he's like, we didn't even have that. Like these kids didn't get in trouble. They went to school, like did their thing. Like,
and now that could be really good for Trevor Lawrence coming in because you have some guys that just don't transfer into the NFL well. Mm-hmm. They get caught up in the hype, especially with him when like there's so much pressure and not even pressure, so much expectation for you to come in and just be great. So maybe having someone like that to kind of guide him will work out very well. It's
a hell of an opportunity, but my friend called it right then. He goes, he will not last more than one more season there. And he was right. That was after that season, Urban retired, for a short time. And the NFL, it is a whole different beast. And that's the thing about college coaches. And I think it was a big thing with Chip Kelly as an example. In college, they're kids and they're still not getting paid, which is ridiculous. Yeah. But they're kids. They're on campus. You're like a dad to them or whatever. In the NFL, these are grown ass men. They're not a lot of them with Urban, but many of them are making more money than you in many cases, or at least as much money or a lot of money, right? They got their lives, they got their families, they got their shit to do. It's their job. So you can't just go in there and be like, yo, I own you 365 days a year, bitch. No, you don't.
And that's why I think I've talked about this on my podcast too. You see the teams that have like a solid relationship, like Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes and Bruce Arians with Tom Brady. Guys like that, when you have like that loving, trusting relationship, when you respect each other equally, that is what works. If you come in and you are just so like gung-ho putting your foot down and this is my team and you're going to do what I say, it can work, but it just, like, the teams that you see having the most fun and having the most success, the Buffalo Bills, same thing, the Steelers, they had a fall off at the end of last season, but still, when you have Mike Tomlin, that's kind of like a mix of that, both like stern, but still respectful. Yep. That is what works. So I just think he's going to have to maybe balance a little bit, not be so strict and so this is my team, because then you're going to have like Jalen Ramsey with Doug Marrone, who's like, I'm not doing this, leaves. Like, there's so many...
Who, by the way, was a defensive player at a dangerous position. Yeah. Who was being paid no money.
Yes. And one of the best in the league, personal opinion.
Absolutely. No question.
I was so devastated when he didn't make it to the Eagles. I remember I found out and I had to call my mom and break the news and be like, Mom, he went to the Rams.
They were going to trade for him.
Oh my God. That was like the big news. It was like he's either coming to Philly or he's going here and there.
He's a Conor McGregor type. Yeah. He talks a lot of shit. Backs it up.
Exactly.
And he's got a lot of respect for guys that can play, and when he gets one-upped on stuff, as long as they didn't fist fight on the field, he's got a lot of respect for him.
Exactly. And like, if you come out and you have, like, that's my issue. I'm not 100% a Baker Mayfield fan. Like, I'm really just not. And that's what's frustrating with him is he came in so hot and hasn't been able to execute up to that level yet, and he still hasn't taken it down. I'm like, sir, I see you on all of these commercials, and then you really can't execute as well as you should be on the field to be on my TV as much as you are. Like, just, I hate to say it, but that's just how I feel about him. So I think he's a cocky motherfucker, and he doesn't really deserve to be yet. I understand he was hot shit in college, the flag, whatever.
Do you think he's good?
I think he's good. And I think he could be good, but I don't think he's great. I don't think he's great. Like, I think he's going to be a solid, average NFL quarterback. And I saw more from him this past season than I've seen.
Yeah.
And I liked the direction it was going. But, like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, Baker Mayfield's trash. I don't think he's a trash guy, but I think he's subpar at best.
I think he's got a lot here.
Yeah. He loves the game.
I think he loves the game. Works his balls off.
Yes.
Got a lot of heart. I think that there's a little bit lacking physically, and which is not his fault, and just pure talent wise. Like, there's just kind of a thing. Like, when you watch Aaron Rodgers throw a football.
Who is my favorite person on this
we can
entire
talk
earth.
about that. I feel like that has more to do than football. But when you watch him throw a football, there's an eye thing.
Yes.
And then it actually does get backed up by math, because his release, I forget, it's like 0.24 seconds
he's ridiculous,
or so.
yeah.
It's like one of the fastest recorded in human history. So there's something different there.
Yes.
I don't like when you first, without measuring anything or timing anything, when you watch Baker, you don't get that feeling like, whoa. You know what I mean?
Can I be really honest? When he walks on the field, he looks like a frumpy 40-year-old man.
He does.
That's just the vibes I get.
He's a dad.
He is. He is such a dad.
He's the kid that's like wearing the headband on the beach in Panama City after senior year of college.
Yeah.
And already like with the handlebar mustache and aged and, worried about the rest of his life.
You know who rocks the handlebar mustache very well?
Don't say Gardner Minshew.
I am in awe of Gardner Minshew.
We've seen the end of Gardner Minshew. I'm never going to have to hear his name again.
No, we haven't. He's going to go somewhere that deserves him and will cherish him, hopefully.
You think he's going to go somewhere? I think he's a backup quarterback.
I mean, okay, maybe this is just hopeful thinking. I just love his whole vibe. He's just a great human being.
I remember seeing a picture of his dad at some point. And his dad's like a big, meathead savage.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, no, literally. It makes so much sense. And he's Gardner Minshew the second. There is no first. His whole family is just one big...
I saw you say that.
Yes.
Wait, explain that.
No, they literally just... So his grandfather wanted to name him Beowulf.
Oh, yeah.
I think, which honestly would have fit. Yeah, it would have fit perfectly. But they didn't, and they went with Gardner, and apparently it's like the dad's middle name's... there's some connection there, but there is actually no Gardner Minshew... the first. He is the
legal?
first. I genuinely don't know. And I don't know if it's like a birth certificate thing, but they...
And they call him the second. There's no third yet.
Yeah, no, literally. There's...
That's a violation. That's a violation. That should be legally changed. I'm sorry.
See, I think
if we start letting people do this, who knows what else they're going to do.
Man
they're
going to
start inventing 6 and 7s.
That man comes out in a mullet, a handlebar mustache, jorts, and cowboy boots, and he can call himself whatever he wants in my book.
I felt so bad for Nick Foles with that, though, when he came up. Because, dude, Nick Foles... He got hurt on one of the greatest football throws you will ever see in your life.
No, it was insane.
That was like one of the most I was like, there he is.
Yep.
And then, there he goes.
Yeah, no, it was so quick. It was so quick.
So sad, man. But then Minshew comes up, the Minshew mania happens. But look, and that's why it works out, because then, Foles goes about his way and he's a 30-year-old quarterback, whatever, and then they're bad because Minshew's not a starter in the league, in my opinion, not a good one. And sorry.
It's fine.
And, now they're going to get Trevor Lawrence, and that changes the trajectory of your franchise.
It does.
And he really, that, just back to Lawrence for a second, a little Lawrence love. You mentioned that he came up as a freshman. He came up as a freshman at Clemson.
Yes.
A factory. This is not you walked on to some school that was a solid D1 school that doesn't have expectations and just lit the world on fire, which would be impressive.
Yeah, it still would have been great.
Dude, you walked in front of 100,000 people as the number 1 team in the country and said, yo, I got this.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, he's unbelievable. He is unmatched. Other than him.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Zack Wilson. What's your thoughts there?
I like Zack Wilson.
Okay.
I don't want to give my predictions. We'll see what happens.
Right.
But
BYU kid.
Yes.
Right.
But he's good. He's stable. I just can't, I feel like he's going to be the ones that's overrated, doesn't make anything long term. The one I'm most excited about is Justin Fields.
He's
love
interesting.
Him. Yeah. And kind of like what I said with Trevor Lawrence, he's quick, he has the mobility, but he also can drop back and throw a deep ball. Like, the kid's good.
I think that he's going to get a really unfair tag and drop, and we'll find out what happens in the draft. But I think he's going to get the unfair tag because of what this has nothing to do with him, but what we just saw with Simba in the league. What the hell is his name? Haskins?
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, flaming out in Washington, which is so unfair, but they're going to be like, oh, this is how scouts work. Another Ohio State quarterback. Look what happened last time. They just print him out like this.
Which is so ridiculous. Yeah. What was the coach? I forget the coach's name. That Aaron Rodgers, he broke the stigma. There was this one college coach that every single quarterback that came out after him was blew it in the league. And
Jeff Tedford,
yes,
right, at Cal.
Yeah. Yes. And then you have Aaron Rodgers come out and break. You can't keep up. That's just so unfair.
It's got nothing to do with it.
And if you even compare just his statistics alone to Dwayne Haskins, he is so superior. And the kid has a 3.9 GPA. He's also brilliant off the field. And he has that.
He's got to get a little bigger.
He does.
Right? But he's tall, right?
And that's what he is. You know, he's a big guy, just a little skinny on the skinnier side.
Yeah.
But no, I'm excited for him, and I think he's going to be one of those guys that drop, surprisingly, because I think he should go top 3.
And Haskins, by the way, is a prime example, once again, Dan Snyder, of an owner meddling, because they did not want him. That the staff did not want him, and he was not. There were a lot of teams that had him nervously on their draft board because they felt like he was a guy that didn't love football. It was like the Ryan Leaf treatment a little bit. You know, these scouts, look, they get a lot wrong, but one thing that a lot of them are pretty good at is is this kid about the game? Mm-hmm. And with Ryan Leaf, there were people who said that. No one listened. He went 2nd overall. Rest is history.
Yeah,
we saw it again with Jamarcus Russell. He was another high draft pick as well. I think if I remember, there was a similar tag on Tim Couch back in the day. He was drafted right in front of McNabb.
Yeah.
So you see it over the years where some scouts are like, I don't know, man. And then it ends up being true. And it's like they missed it with Haskins. But, to put any of that on Fields, that doesn't sit right with me because you have to evaluate guys based on who they are, especially as a quarterback.
Yeah, and he has the best mentality. He loves the game. And he is one of those guys, he looks at criticism and he says, I read all of this criticism and I take it personally.
That's good.
He pulls a Michael Jackson. He's like, and I took that, and Michael Jackson.
And I took that personally.
Michael Jordan. And he sits there and he goes, I took that personally. And he will take it and then he will come out and fix it and he will work on it and learn from it. And I think those are the type of kids that are going to transfer well into the league. That is someone a team should want. Now, I think personally, honestly, he could come out and be a starter right now, especially preferably if he had a vet sitting behind him. I don't think he's going to be. But I think whatever team is going to get him is going to be lucky. And I'm hoping, speaking of Dwayne Haskins, now that he's with Mike, because Dwayne Haskins, I honestly think could be good.
He's got talent. He's got talent.
He is just such a doofus, and he makes such stupid decisions, and he lets the fame and everything get. Do you remember that one game where they came back to win it, and instead of playing the last snap, he got so excited that they got the touchdown that he went to take selfies with the fans. And then, stupid shit. It's how can you,
controllable shit.
And I'm hoping now he's in Pittsburgh, and I'm hoping Mike Tomlin can honestly whip him into shape, because if anyone can do it, Mike Tomlin can.
It's a good situation.
Yeah.
Because Roethlisberger may play, he keeps on hanging on, but he doesn't have a hell of a lot left to do.
I think the chances of him playing this entire season all the way through are slim to none.
Exactly. So he's on his last legs. He will not, 2 years from now, Ben Roethlisberger will not be in the NFL.
I'm hoping he's a coach, because when he was hurt and he was their quarterback coach when they had Duck Hodges and all these other, he was doing well, and I like seeing him in that environment, but he's just not meant to be a QB1 anymore.
Yeah, he's and it's really a stability thing, because he's so big.
Yes.
He took a beating.
Yeah. Every time he moves, even when he's just dropping back, he doesn't even look like he can do that anymore.
When Bart Scott hit him a decade ago, I thought that that took 5 years off his career in one hit. And like to his credit, here he still is.
Yeah.
And like when he's healthy, he's still good.
Yes.
Like he does look decrepit, doing a 7-step drop. I agree. But like once he gets back there, like boy can sling it.
He can.
So that's not the problem. It's just like he's old now, and so you're gonna see him slide out. They don't have another QB1 on the roster. So that I agree. I think as far as a landing spot that Haskins could have to put himself in the best position after really blowing it, you're not going to do better than that. You're playing for a great coach, great organization, an organization that loves stability too. So it's going to be on him.
Yeah, I think it could. I honestly, there was a point where I was like, I don't know if anyone's going to go after him. Like I thought he was just going to kind of fade off into the oblivion. But when I saw that they went for it, I was like, you know what? This could be his saving grace, like the best thing that ever happened to him.
Here's the thing, though: you can't teach someone to love football.
Exactly.
So if he actually does love it, we're going to find out.
And I hope, because I want the best for him. Like I want to see him come back and kind of rebuild his name a little bit, kind of like Jameis Winston. And Jameis Winston never had the question of if he loved it or not, because he loves it.
No.
And I'm a fan of his, and I know that's kind of a hot take, but I think he could be really good. And I think the Saints are kind of helping him out right now, kind of helping him rebuild up his name, rebuild his career a little bit. So I'm hoping that Dwayne Haskins can kind of get there too.
What do you think of it? I'll ask you, and I'm totally asking you because you're a woman too.
Okay.
It's a perspective that I can't have.
Okay.
But with Winston, because it is a hot take, he has always been, as far as like when you just hear him talk and whatever, always seems like a likable guy.
Yeah.
Also, legitimately, there were plenty of players. I know some like kind of didn't think he was a great quarterback in Tampa, but there were plenty of guys who were friends with him off the field. So it was never like, yo, this guy's just a complete dickbag. But I don't really care about being 18 and stealing crab legs. I thought that was kind of funny, to be honest with you. It's the other stuff that people care about. And a couple things. Number one, you got to say two things at the same time. He was cleared of the things that happened. Mm-hmm. And the second one, like, was less, it wasn't good, but it was less serious, and he took some blame, like, yo, I misread the signs or whatever, and it looked horrible because it's him. Yeah. So you have to, I'm talking about the Uber one, go Google that, people, look it up. But the first one is the one that's like, that was a big deal because it was like an accused rape. So he was cleared of it. Yeah. That said, there was a lot of drama around it, and he was the most powerful person on that campus, right? Yeah. So when you look at the optics of it, football school too, there's a lot of questions around that. So in a way, you never know for sure. It's always a cloud there. But as a woman, do you look at that and go like, because obviously like you're somewhat of a fan of his, do you look at that and go like, hey, I don't know, so it is what it is, and hopefully he never does it again? Or is there the part that's like, nah, that's still there, and you know, that's problematic? Because, by the way, you can say the same things with other people, including who we were just talking about, Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah. No, there's been a lot, and I don't know if we want to have the DeShaun Watson conversation, but we can get there. But I think it's always...
We'll go there. Yeah.
Okay. And it always is in the back of my mind, like when I see... And even when I think about Ben Roethlisberger... that's one of the first things I think of a lot of the time. And that's unfortunate. And I don't want it to be, but it still comes up and it's still there. So it's definitely something that stays in the back of my mind. I think, one, he was cleared. So I think that kind of helps put me at ease a little bit. And I don't even know if I'm doing the right thing as a woman by saying this. I kind of take it back and I look at my career, the career I'm trying to build is to judge football. And so I sit there and I judge football, and I never excuse it and I never erase it.
Right,
and
right. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. And I never, like, if it ever gets, like, I will never completely ignore it. And I will always address it, and I will always listen to both sides. But then you also have situations, and this is also from a woman, because I've had friends that have had to deal with this, and I've had guy friends that have had to deal with this. There are women, especially for men in power, that will come out and will make stories up about men. And I'm not saying that's what happened. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that. But I tend to look at it, I'm like, this is my job, this is my career, this is what I chose to get into. And I know there is a lot of questions about it. So every time a situation like this comes up, I remain completely independent until all facts are on the table. And I look especially with everything that's happening with DeShaun Watson right now, which is someone I really respected. And I'm very, very torn up inside about it because...
And that's very ongoing, too.
It's very ongoing. So whenever things like this happen, it hurts because it's something that, like, you get to this status, you can have any person you want. Why do you guys have to go and get yourself into these situations? It upsets me, and I think it's a power hungry thing, kind of like we talked about earlier. So it really gets to me, but at the same time, I do, like, I don't know how to put it. I think I never ignore it. I never erase it, but it's something that I kind of... I don't know. I guess I choose not to focus on it as heavily. And I don't know if that's the best thing for me to do, but it's the way I can do my work the best, if that makes sense.
I think that's a really very open and honest answer. And I think it's pretty fair too. And it's not like, you don't condone shit.
Never.
Ever. That's not the point. But it's also like, what do you know?
Exactly.
And it's a sad thing. Like, frankly, to use this example, we knew Michael Vick financed dog farms or whatever the hell they were called for dog fighting, right? We knew he did. It was on evidence. So it's like, okay, yeah, you can judge after that. There's other things that, like, you don't have to be okay with it, but you have to be okay with the fact that it is unknown. Unfortunately, you don't have a choice on that. And with Watson, I got a lot of thoughts there. I got a lot. First of all, let's get your thoughts first. Early on right now, I think where it stands, there's been 24, 25 women. I don't think it's grown in the past 3 or 4 weeks, so it sounds like for now that's where it's stopping. And there is one attorney on the other side who's like pushing the whole thing out of Houston, who's also got an interesting little backstory there.
Yeah, that's what I also want to make it very clear. Every woman, like, when shit like this happens, and it's proven and it's all the proof is there. And my first instinct is to trust the female because it tears me up inside to know that there are girls that will come, and it happens. There are females that will come forward and make this up for money, for
Brian
fame.
Banks.
Yeah. And it's instances like that absolutely kill me because then all you're doing is taking away integrity and trust from women who were actually assaulted.
I think that those women should be put in jail for a similar sentence that they did to the person. Not necessarily just because of what they did to the person they accused, which is horrible, and they take away someone's freedom like that, and also the stigma, everything, right? Like if people haven't seen the Brian Banks story, go check that out. That is one of the saddest things you'll ever see.
No, it's heartbreaking.
But it is also because of the stigma that then it leads to the boy cries wolf scenario.
Exactly.
And that was like the Me Too movement had a lot of upside to it. The biggest downside was that it got a lot of bandwagon jumpers who suddenly were just like, oh yeah, it happened to me too. And so now there's it is the first inclination. I talk to a lot of very good, morally good people, including women, who will tell me, like, my first inclination is to say, well, let's see here, which is very sad.
And that's like, after everything I just said, that's what upsets me the most, because there is that, I never want to think a woman comes forward and says she's assaulted. I never want my mind to go to, well, is this true? And especially as a woman, I never want to have to get there. And unfortunately, because it has been proven that girls have, like, they get to the point where they're like, you know what, I made this up. And it's like, why? Why do you feel the need to come out and do this? Like, I get you could get money from it. Is it worth it? Is it worth taking away from other women who are actually suffering and dealing with real problems and real shit for you to go down this road? So that really messes me up. And I will always, when it's proven like a girl has been put in this situation, at this point, that is bigger than the game. It's bigger than football. It's bigger than your career. And you have to be penalized for it. So that's kind of where I stand on all that. With the DeShaun Watson situation, when it initially started, I will be honest, it seemed super sketchy to me. Just because, not because of the women, because of the lawyer and the way the lawyer was handling it.
We didn't even see the women. I think we've still only seen 2.
Yeah. And the accusations that were coming out, the way the lawyer handled it, there was the one case that initially dropped, and DeShaun Watson won on paper. Obviously, I don't know him. he seems like such a genuine, loving, like, guy. And he's someone I respect. You can go back and watch all my videos, and I'm wanting him out of Houston, and I'm wanting the best for him. And I'm so excited for him to, like, take this jump in his career, and then all this breaks. And the first one that came out, I felt super uneasy about it because I think I originally started seeing it when it was like the second and third cases were being filed. And
they were pretty, like, that was the same week. I think, right?
And the first one, all they came out and demanded was a 6-figure sum of money.
Oh, I hate that.
And that was there was no criminal charges. All they were asking for was money. And as a woman, if I'm in that situation, money is the last thing on my mind. So
let me ask you that real fast, because that's an important question. And I'm not a woman, so I don't know, but my thought from the outside would be no money is going to replace what happened to you.
Exactly.
If you wanted, like, if you really cared about that and wanted, like, the world righted, and it's never going to be fully right again, but you wanted it right a little bit, your number one priority isn't the payout you're getting in civil court. The number one priority is this person, I'm going to stand up to this person in public because now I own that beast, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and that's kind of what sits wrong with me about the entire thing, because like you just said, the money, if you win at the end, it's a perk and it's nice, but it should not be the end goal. The end goal I would want is justice. I would want everyone to know what happened. Not even to me. I don't know if I necessarily would want my name out there, but I would want everyone to know what happened, and I would want my assaulter, whoever, just to get the justice that they deserved. And I would want all their acclamations taken away. Like, that is what I think you should go for. And not all it also depends on the severity of the situation.
Sure.
But
which this one is obviously the highest.
Yes. So there's a lot of layers. There's a lot there. But when I first saw, they just asked for money, and DeShaun Watson came out on his own and said, listen, I've never mistreated anybody ever. I'm going to be open and honest about this. And then all of a sudden, the lawyer filed 2 or 3 more cases after he said, I'm not paying. I didn't do this. It felt wrong. So that was my initial reaction. Now we're at the point where there's 25 women. There's women that are putting their name out there and speaking out.
Yeah.
So now it feels more real. I need to see how it all plays out. I don't want to take his side and be like, nope, I felt weird about it. I'm going to defend him, because if there are women that were actually out there that he hurt or assaulted or fucked over in any way, he can't get away with it. He doesn't. No, but no matter how high your status is, you don't deserve to get away from mistreating anybody. No. So it's so unfortunate, because it is someone that I respected and loved so much. And the fact that we kind of have to watch how this plays out, it's a shitty situation.
Yeah, to say the least. I have a complex range of thoughts here, and the number one thing, 2 things I want to say out front. Number 1, I want to see the facts continue to come out. I want to see how this plays out. Number 2, I still, in spite of some past things that make you lose faith in it, my first inclination is to believe women.
Yes.
When they come out. I unfortunately have to recognize, I don't know what the percentage is, but there is and it's not 5. There is a percentage of time, especially with powerful figures, where it's fucking bullshit and it's not true. As numbers get higher, starts to get a little more believable. Watson, a couple things. Number 1, and this could mean nothing. Like, we've seen guys just out of nowhere, like, suddenly become a bad person, or like they were always this demon or whatever, but been well loved everywhere he goes by everyone he's ever played for, like, literally considered one of the highest character people in the entire league. Great story, great everything. Winner, all of it. Number 2, haven't seen a lot of innocent guys hire Rusty Hardin. Now, I know, if you don't know who Rusty Hardin is, that's the attorney he hired. Rusty Hardin is obviously the best attorney probably in the state of Texas, at least as it pertains to criminal matters or serious allegations. So, yes, he's going to hire the best. But then again, like, you know, first time I heard Rusty Hardin's name was Roger Clemens back in the day. You know, and there's been a lot of others. I'm forgetting some, but he's done a lot of high-profile cases for famous people, athletes, whatever, since then. And usually it's someone who did something wrong. So didn't love that, but I get it. Another question for you. There's 2 things these guys have in common. I'm going to list some names off.
Okay.
Earl Thomas, Jalen Ramsey, Dwayne Haskins, Kelechi Osemele, DeShaun Watson. Do you know what they have in common? There's two things they do. The first one, it'll be obvious afterwards.
Race?
No. Well, actually, yes, they technically have that. That's not what I was looking for, but
I was like,
yes. Technically, yes. But the first thing is they have all had some sort of crazy off-field drama play out. So with Earl Thomas, he got ran out of the league.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's also some fault here too. Earl Thomas got ran out of the league because apparently he got in a fight in practice and then got blackballed by everyone, right? Which, by the way, fights in practice happen.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get that. It sounded like he was a little aggressive, but guys, a borderline Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.
Right? So that was a little weird to me. And he got blackmailed with the whole thing with his brother, which was weird, how did they get that info?
Yeah.
Interesting. Dwayne Haskins, we already talked about. He seems like there's certainly a lot of fault on his end there, but he's had a big microscope, bigger microscope than most of his peers, especially in that draft class. Kelechi Osemele, I know. I talked to Kelechi before that season with the Jets, and I interviewed him at a conference in New York, and we were early there, so we were talking for a while. In addition to being a great player, he's a great A guy. Great A guy. He told me about his shoulder. This is June 2019. He told me that he had a fully torn labrum in there. He's like, I don't know, we'll see. He was trying like intermittent fasting during the offseason and everything. And he played through it on a very bad offensive line, and the Jets fucked him. Totally. And if not for Andy Reid, who now he's old and he's like, he's banged up. So, I don't know if he's got any more time left. But Andy Reid at least gave him one more season to come in, and he played a few games before getting injured. But he got totally blackballed. Jalen Ramsey, who played for Doug Marrone, which we already covered.
Yeah.
Got totally tagged as a prima donna and all this shit. When all he was trying to do, the guy's at safety, at cornerback safety in the NFL, playing, he's a cornerback, but plays like a goddamn safety, right? All he was trying to do was make sure that before I can blow out my knee, I get a little bit of guaranteed money, which is exactly what he should do, and he gets labeled all this shit. DeShaun Watson was a perfectly clean cut in the way of people saying he's no flaws on him whatsoever, nothing off the field, no nothing. And now has all this stuff happen after finally standing up to an organization that has screwed up everything over the last 4 years, and also put him on his ass behind a bad offensive line for most of those 4 years. And now this starts to happen. That's the first thing they have in common, all those things. The second thing they have in common is the agent. Their agent is all David Mugoletta. I think that's how you say his name. And the thing about Mugoletta is he is totally self-made. And he is a guy who is going at this from a similar lens. The way he builds his business, I respect this a lot. He's looking at it the way Rich Paul has looked at building Clutch. He's all about creating a family, and his players all help each other out. They're all family, and it's, hey, we're going to stand up to the man. And so it's not this typical, Drew Rosenhaus, same old agent, whatever. Mugoletta is on these guys' level, very genuinely. All of them are having problems. And we know the NFL is a good old boys league, right? They don't like people who come in and stir up the pot.
Yeah.
So now the star, the cream of his crop, finally comes out and says, yeah, I'm not going to play for this team. Which he's perfectly within his rights to say, this is fucked up, what's happening here. And now all this happens. I've seen it 5 times now. One of them I know personally was bullshit. Mm-hmm. Now I'm seeing it with the number one guy who everyone thinks is one of the greatest people ever. It's a little conspiratorial, but it makes me ask some questions.
And there is, if we're going to talk conspiracy, there is connections to the lawyer filing all of these lawsuits and the Texans owner. I can't remember how they're connected, but somehow they live in the same town. There's something there. And I would never, until more comes out, just because we don't know either side 100% yet. And I don't want to put those conspiracies out there just because, like I said, I don't want to take anything away from, now we have 25 women that have come forward.
I'll take blame for the conspiracy. That's me. Let's let the record state I'm the conspiracy guy right now.
Yeah, so
you're free to go.
Okay. I don't want to take anything away from them, but there are some weird connections going on, and that could totally just be random, but there is something there, and who knows what it all means.
Let me add a conspiracy layer to that too.
All right.
The Texans are not exactly, how should I say this? They haven't been exactly clean on the racial issues side of things for the past several years. And so that looks real sketch that their black quarterback had the audacity to come out and say, yeah, you're not taking care of me, so this is bullshit. Like, I'm not going to waste my career playing for you guys. And now he's got issues, and I didn't even know that there's potential, and we'll hedge and say potential. We don't know for sure, but there's at least some links there. It's sketchy, man. And then you put women in the middle of it. It's like it's like an unfair football, no pun intended, to pass around here, because who knows? Like, because then what happens? We then represent them as women, quote unquote. Like, oh, so if it turns out, and we don't know this, if it turns out that like it's bullshit and this is some inside job, these women who are probably paid off or whatever in that case will now screw over future women who come out and say things, and they're 100% right.
Exactly.
And it happened.
And it also makes me super nervous because what if, God forbid, what if some of this did happen to some degree and they just caught a whiff of it and then like it got turned into something bigger? So now these women that were actually assaulted didn't get to handle it in the right way because they wanted to make it a stunt. Like, there's so many things that could be going on behind the scenes that we're not even fully aware of that make me super uneasy about the entire situation.
Yeah, I just want to see the facts continue to come out if we can get them. But I will say, if he is indeed innocent, I feel horrible for him because this is the worst kind of tag you can get, and it's a tough situation. And look, on a lighter note, it's also tough for the league too. He's such a great face of the league. And it's like, well, right now, like, we can't really talk about DeShaun. Yeah. It went from this guy who, from a money perspective, the league should want to have at the forefront with Mahomes and Brady still, old man that he is, still selling the whole league. Like those are maybe the three-ish guys. Yeah, there's a few. Aaron Rodgers obviously in there, your boy, Russell Wilson. But like as far as quarterbacks go, like those five, those are the ones really selling the league here. And now it's like, I guess the youngest one of the lot, DeShaun, who's got a ton of promise and is early on in his career. It's a very, not that it's ever a good time, it's a very bad time to see it happen. And it's tough, but I do hope it works out in as cleanly as possible, where this can have the end result be he didn't do anything, and also not cost people wanting to believe women. Hopefully if there's sketchiness going on, they just totally uncover it from the lawyer on the other side, whatever the hell his name is, Busby or something like that. Yeah, something Bisbee. Weird. Yeah, hopefully they just uncover that, and then the blame all goes on him. Yeah. And we can call it a day. But I don't know. So, yeah. Anyway, we've been going back and forth with the draft, but we went through quarterbacks. I think we got through Lawrence, Wilson, and Fields. Yeah. So those are the three big boys, right? Yeah. I'm not missing anyone else. Well, then you have Mac Jones. Oh, Mac Jones, Alabama. I am missing him. Who I'm not sold on. He's built like a double cheeseburger. Yeah, no, and the fact that there's so much hype around, and I honestly, I don't want to put it out there because this will come out after the draft. The fact that there's even talk about it right now that Mac Jones could go and potentially will go above Justin Fields, it blows my mind. I think Mac Jones is the kind of quarterback that can fall early or can fall late into the first round. I think personally he could even be an early second round guy, if I'm being completely honest. I just can't see him. I don't know. I'm not sold on him at all. And then you have Trey Lance, who is the type of quarterback that I think could do great things as a starting. Where's he from? He's from a weird. Hold on, it's yellow and green. I can picture his jersey. Oh, man. You gave me the jersey colors. I love it. It's like everyone who's a Dolphins fan from New Jersey. Man, I just love Dolphins. The Dolphins are my number 2 team. Oh, no. Don't do that. No, I love them. Golden... No. What's... Like the casino? Yeah, that was the name of an article. Sorry, okay. I had it wrong. Wait, Bison? Did he play at... No. Did he play at North Dakota State? Wait, yes. No, he didn't. Yes. He's from Wentzville? Yes. I already don't like him. Why? He's not a dog. He could be a dog. I'm judging. No, he's going to be good. His thing is he needs to be on a team where he sits behind someone because he needs some guidance. Like Trevor Lawrence, you can throw right into the mix. Yeah.
Trey Lance, I think, is going to be great, but you need to pull a Patrick Mahomes or an Aaron Rodgers, have him sit for a little bit.
You know what? Mahomes is the one shining example of this where he didn't have to play right away.
Yeah.
He's the most physically gifted quarterback to ever grace the league. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Like, even, sorry to Aaron Rodgers, he's got a great release, but it's not even remotely close. And B, he was also with one of the top 2 quarterback gurus to ever grace the league in Andy Reid. So it is an outlier scenario to me. I heard that take on one of your podcast episodes, and I think both of you were saying it. I disagreed with that.
Okay.
I think, especially today, you got to throw him in the fire more.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I'm not. I think it can work. I'm not always 100% sold on that. I think the league has gotten very, very impatient. And I think things that can go wrong, for example, Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah,
you throw them into the fire, some kids just aren't ready for it. And God forbid he comes out there and he sucks.
They got to want it, though. They gotta want to be ready for it.
Yeah,
he didn't want to be ready for it.
That's true. But you throw a kid out there and he sucks his first couple games. That can mess. And same thing with Baker. There was all this hype around Baker, and Baker likes it. He knows he wants it. He wants to do well.
Too. They held him for 6-7 games.
Yeah, then I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on throwing him into the fire. I like the mold of having them sit behind someone that they can learn from, see how the league works, throw them in a little bit here and there, and then see what happens.
I will admit, the one position where I think there's a little bit of an argument for it, where I could come to your side on that, would be quarterback.
Yeah.
Any other position, I disagree with. Yeah. They gotta go.
I'm not. Yeah.
You can play or you can't.
There's no reason in having a receiver and having him wait, especially a running back whose careers are short as is. You need to. If you're good, you're out there, and that's what we drafted you. That's what you're gonna do. Quarterbacks, when you're basically building your entire franchise around this person, I don't know. I just think it's worth it to kind of hold off and wait, let them gain as much experience. And like I said, this also is a player-based scenario because there are guys that are ready to immediately can come in, or the organization is in a position where they just need someone right now and they don't have anybody. They're not in that weird position. But I think Jordan Love for the Packers is sitting in a brilliant position because you are watching Aaron Rodgers be Aaron Rodgers. And I know he might not thoroughly enjoy being the backup, but I just think we're going to watch him come out and be great because...
Do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to retire in the next 5 years?
I do.
Really?
I do. And he said it. He said, he was because you hear Tom Brady, who knows when Brady's ever going to retire. I think Rodgers is nearing that. He just got engaged. Now he's talking about children. He's talking about hosting Jeopardy.
So you can't have kids in the NFL?
He said he never wanted kids up until he just fell in love. He was never. He's
got a lot of family issues.
Yeah. He cut off his whole family. Yeah, so I can't see him. And he literally said, he was I got a couple years left. We'll see what happens. I think we have 2-3 years left of Aaron Rodgers.
Really?
I do. Unfortunately. And I don't want that. I will be going to...
He was pissed when they drafted that kid.
Oh, he was... And that's why he came out. And so maybe that did extend his longevity a little bit. But now that I'm hearing him talk about being a dad and knowing how he takes football so seriously. That is his, and he's just a very intense person. It's just how he is. So I don't think he can do the whole married Jeopardy host being a dad and be the same Aaron Rodgers. And I don't think he would let himself slack off as Aaron Rodgers. So
I agree with that.
Yeah.
You definitely know more about him off the field. But I
keep up with his social life.
Yeah, you're thinking he's going to want to cut the cord there. That's interesting because he's at the top of his game.
He is.
And quarterbacks can be that for a long time. And he's had some injuries, but they're not debilitate shoulder injuries. He had the collarbone, which you can recover from and you're fucking fine.
Yeah.
As far as everything else being in order, his body's in good shape.
He looks great. watching him, he is honestly, you know how everyone kind of has like that player that made them fall in love with the game? And like, it should be an Eagle for me. I loved Donovan McNabb. I love Brian Dawkins. Like, those are guys that made me love the Eagles. But Aaron Rodgers was the guy that made me love football. Like, he is someone I just grew up, and the way he plays, the way he talks, like the way he cares, like there's just so much to him. And I don't think he'll let himself be off the field the loving family guy, and then also like he needs to devote all of himself to his game.
Yeah, it's interesting because Brady's got the biggest dog mentality of all time, and he finds a way to be both.
Does it.
And maybe that's I'm sure that's not for everyone, but I mean, Brady's ageless.
He really is.
I thought, I'm going to be honest, he looked really bad his last year in New England. His stats were okay.
Yeah.
But I was watching him like he should have walked off after winning against St. Louis or LA. He should have walked off after beating the Rams, and then when he threw the pick six in round 1 in Foxborough and they lost at home to the Titans, I was like, oh, it's such a bad ending. And then he changed jerseys, and I'm like, that is the worst idea of all time, because look, the tape was showing me he couldn't play anymore. He can play.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, Tom, if you took a little something, I don't even care. I'm about it. Like, yo, if you're balling like that, great. So he proved everyone wrong because he went back in time, and now it's like, well, when's he going to stop? I don't know.
He doesn't need to stop. And I was so, and maybe this was just the Eagles Super Bowl in me, I was like so over Tom Brady. Couldn't stand him. I didn't like watching him. Like, and I respected him. He is the greatest of all time.
I'm glad you say that.
Yeah, like I cannot like him as a person, and I can still sit here and acknowledge everything that he's done. Like, me saying I think he's arrogant and annoying doesn't take away 6 Super Bowls.
He's a gamer.
He is, yeah.
He's a gamer.
So
that arrogance is built into that. Like, he's a dog.
Exactly. But he just wasn't my favorite person, and I had a hard time supporting him.
Yeah, fair.
So that was just kind of where I was on it. And then he wakes up one day and decides to go down to Tampa, and I was like, I was on the opposite. I kind of liked it. I was like, you know what? It's either going to work or it doesn't. And this is a team that is stacked. And it's annoying because they're just absolutely monopolizing right now. And Tom Brady kind of came in, and I didn't know initially when the trade first happened, I didn't know what actually to expect from him. And then I made the prediction in my first YouTube video. I was like, this is going to be a Bucs-Chiefs Super Bowl. And I didn't actually think that was going to stick.
When was that?
Yeah, that was September of this season. And I literally said, I was like, the Bucs are going to the Super Bowl. And I said, the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. And I was like, all right.
You know your shit.
Here we go. And I did waver. I was on the Steelers hype train I was like, the Steelers are going to make this happen. So I wasn't 100% consistent all the way through, but I did just have this gut feeling that the Bucs were going to be great. And that's why I was so disappointed with them the first couple weeks, where it didn't seem like they were connecting. Like, it just didn't seem like it was working, but then they got it together, and they got it very together. Now they're keeping the entire band together. And I don't know. I just feel like, because there was always the Brady-Belichick argument. Like, would Brady have been able to do what he did without Belichick? And I think he just proved everybody wrong, because he came out there, Bruce Arians would literally call play, and Tom Brady would walk on the field and change it. And he just
and they were okay with that.
And they just trusted him. Like, they let him just go out there and do what he does best. And when you have the best, it works. So
I'm not taking anything away from Brady saying this.
Yeah.
I'm really not.
Yeah.
But you said it yourself. That team is stacked.
Exactly.
Stacked.
Yep. And he never had that in New England.
The Patriots were not stacked last year at all, because they were in their last year of cap hell, as you can see. Now they were finally able to spend.
Now they're on a frenzy.
Right. So I'm gonna give it 5 years with Bill Belichick to see and make a judgment there. Like, all right, who was it more? I think it's premature to be like, yo, it's just all Brady. I think they're both great. Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's like, for Brady, it's not to say it's not unbelievable, and that, I mean, he brought a Super Bowl to Tampa, and they did do that. They caught lightning in a bottle once before, but they largely have been a bad organization. Mm-hmm. He'd flip that around in a year, no doubt about it. But there are a lot of weapons there, and that defense was good. Everyone was good.
And I think that's why, you're talking about how he came out and went back in a time machine. I think it helps when you have all of those incredible guys out there. You have a they would not have made it through the playoffs this year if it wasn't for that defense.
Oh, no, that defense is stacked.
Literally
and
incredible.
They drafted well.
Yes.
They drafted very well.
So there's a lot to it. So, but I don't think we're seeing the end of Tom Brady, unfortunately, for that. I kind of hope, you know what my hope is? The Bucs come out this season. They kept the band together. They do exactly what they did last year. They run right back to the Super Bowl. If the Bucs can do that, and if Tom Brady can win his 8th Super Bowl in his 2nd year in Tampa, back to back, he retires. You can't top that. I think even if he's at the top of it, I think he would. You think he would?
He's out of his mind. He doesn't give a fuck. He really doesn't. He will go for the three-peat. I mean, I agree with. Look, I would have told him to walk off after St. Louis, after LA, because he was. I mean, his last breaths to me of greatness were when he pulled it out of his ass. That's what it felt like against Kansas City on the road in the AFC Championship that year.
Yeah, because
before that, it was his team more carrying him. It seemed like. Again, had less weapons, So it's interesting. This year, was the team great, and did they absolutely play an enormous role? Yes. But he felt like he pulled a big part of the weight too. And when they needed him to be great, he was fucking Tom Brady. So I give him a lot of credit. And the other thing I'll say as an Eagles fan is that, we're funny in this town. We like to, anyone that's not wearing our uniform, especially if they're good, we like to hate them and everyone around them. So people they were making fun of him for like kissing his kids and shit like that. The best part about that Super Bowl, besides the fact that we won the Super Bowl and oh my God, we did it. The best part about it to me was that we played the best player to ever play the game, who played, I think, the best game he's ever played. He was stupendous. He didn't miss. Yeah. In fact, when they lost the game, it was from a blindside sack where his O-line broke down and Brandon Graham, God bless him, got him. That's not on him.
Yeah.
The quarterback cannot always just have eyes in the back of their head. That entire game, the only mistake he made was when he didn't catch a ball.
Yeah.
Which he's not paid to do.
Yeah.
Right? He threw for 500 and some yards, and I'll never forget it. It was one of the coldest takes I've ever seen in my life. Chris Collinsworth, in the second quarter, he'd already thrown for 100 yards and was warming up and starting to play pretty good. He has one ball with Gronk where he throws it was supposed to be a seamer 25-yarder, just straight vert, and he sailed it just a little bit over his head and sailed it, meaning threw it too hard. Not the kind of thing you say about an old man who's not getting the ball there. And Chris Collinsworth goes, I gotta tell you, Mike, or Al, we haven't seen Tom Brady miss like that with Rob Gronkowski for years, and you gotta wonder is father time catching up? And I remember looking at that you fucking moron. What game are you watching?
How did you just do that impersonation?
That was pretty good.
Well. That was pretty good.
Wow, I didn't think I had a good Collinsworth, but thank you. But I think the next play he threw a 45-yard pass at Collinsworth is and there's Tom Brady. Yeah. And it's what are you even saying right now? He threw for 520 yards, no picks. What was it? 5-6 touchdowns. Unbelievable. Best part about that Super Bowl, we beat the best player of all time, and he played. It was not his fault.
Yeah,
he played. He was the best. No disrespect to Nick Foles, who was phenomenal that night. Tom Brady was the best football player I've ever seen in my life that night. I thought that was cool.
Very cool.
Okay.
I will not. I wish I could
agree there.
I know. I wish I could just relive that night.
That was
over one more time.
Where were you on that?
Oh, are you ready for this? Yeah. Here's my Super Bowl story. So that season, my mom and I watched the first couple. My mom literally knew. When I tell you, my mom taught me everything I know about football. And my dad loves football. My whole family loves football. But my mom is the one that ingrained it into me. She knows her shit. And the first couple weeks that season, she was like, we're winning the Super Bowl. She just knew. And I was like, okay, great. Glad you're so optimistic. And it was the first couple weeks I was sitting with her on the couch, and it was just the two of us. And we literally pulled a Silver Linings Playbook, that juju energy. And she was like, you can never go out for an Eagles game. You just can't do it. I need you here. We're doing well. So it was every Sunday, it was just me and her. And then it was the Super Bowl. And she goes, listen, you can't you can't go out. It needs to be me on the couch and you on the chair like it's been all season. And we need to watch this because if you leave and switch it up, she was like, we're going to lose. She was like, we will lose this game if it's not the two of us here. My sister, she was home, and my sister's an Eagles fan. Every time my sister walked out of her bedroom, something got a little iffy, and my mom was like, get back.
Get back in the bedroom.
You have to. Like, when I tell you it was the most superstitious night I've ever experienced, and then the second we won, screaming, crying, she told me it was better than the day I was born. I totally gave her permission, and then I hopped on a train with all my friends and went into Philly and celebrated that night.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I had my buddy Ty Martin, who's another Marlton guy, was on here a few months ago, and he told the story about that night, and he said the coolest part was, and this is just why it comes full circle with stuff, he said the coolest part was he was in, I forget what bar, so I don't want to say, but he was in one of the big bars in Philly. Maybe it was McGillen's. But right when they went to win, he was somewhat close to the door. Not next to it, but he was at the bar right in front of the TV, and he just knew where the door was. Mm-hmm. And so right when the ball hit the ground, everyone celebrated, and he celebrated with this guy next to him. I think he had met that night, and they became like great friends. And then they both, Ty first, and then this kid beelined it outside through the front door, and it was when everything was still. No one had run out of bars yet. So for what felt like an hour, he was out there just like not even screaming, just like, oh my God.
Like it happened.
In shock.
Yeah.
And it's all silent, and then suddenly
oh my God, that just gave me goosebumps.
Everyone jumps out of the bars. The streets start filling up, and he and the other guy are like, yo, don't lose contact, man. Add me on Insta. We're brothers for life. I met that other guy 2 months later, literally on Clubhouse. He like came in and we just started going back and forth. He met me and a few of my other buddies on there. And so we were talking afterwards. He goes, yo, I like a week later, he's like, yo, I checked out your podcast. Are you friends with Ty Martin? And I'm like, yeah, it's my boy. He's like, yo, so we have like a thing. I was like, yo, like totally cool. I didn't know that about Ty. He's like, no, not like that. Not like that. He goes, no, like you don't understand. We watched the Eagles win together. I'm like, you're the guy? He's like,
you're the one.
He's like, yeah, dude. Like it got a little iffy there for a second. Like something could have happened. We were that excited. And I start cracking up. I'm like, dude, what a small world. And he's like, I will never forget that. Like I could never see Ty again, and we are brothers for life because of that. It's like it's this thing that happened where if you don't live here, you don't fucking understand.
No, literally. That night, I actually... Going into Philly, I told you, hopped on my friend called me and she was like, I'm picking you up right now. We're getting on the train. Hopped on the train, went right into the city. I'm getting off of the train, walking up the steps. The guy, some random dude in front of me, is being an Eagle. I get whacked so hard in the face. I don't even feel it. I'm like numb. I'm just like so excited. He's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I wake up the next morning, huge black eye. My mom was like, what happened to you? And I was like, I don't know.
I was assaulted.
Like, yeah. My friend was like, was it that guy pretending to like be an Eagle? And I was like, definitely. And like putting and like, it was still like hands down the greatest night of my entire life.
You go to the parade too?
Oh, yeah. Oh, how I got out of that. So I commuted to undergrad, and I had all of my classes set up. I was in class 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I could work and have my freedom all throughout the week. I got all my... So it was like a grind of a day.
The parade was a Tuesday.
Yeah, the parade. It was a Tuesday or a Thursday. Was it a Tuesday? I think it might have been that Thursday.
It was a Thursday,
yes.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
And so three of my 5 professors canceled. They were like, we're not doing class. All of you enjoy.
You had 2 professors not cancel.
And my one, it was media law. And it was my favorite class. But when I tell you this class was so intense, I took it as a sophomore because I had these law school dreams. And they were like, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. And I loved this class. She was one of my favorite people on this planet, like literally like
not that day
and she was like, I'm not canceling class. I'm emailing her, I'm begging her, and like if you missed class, like her exams were like everything she said in class, like she would turn it into a question. Like me taking notes was like,
some things are bigger than school.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like begging her and making sure she's like, I'm not going to cancel class. And I'm in the back of my mind, my other one was like a sports journalism class, and I was like, what the frick? So I sent him an email and I'm like, listen, this is detrimental to my career as a sports journalist. If you don't let me.
My mental health has been affected by this.
I was like, I need to experience this moment in Philadelphia Eagles sports history.
This is a super triggering moment.
Yeah. So he goes, all right, you're excused, go. And she wasn't canceling the night before the parade. I told my friends, I was like, listen, I don't know if I can. I was like having this internal struggle. She sends an email. I'm dealing with some things. Class is canceled.
Oh, and I was like, didn't want to admit
I was like, you just didn't want to give in. So all of my classes were either excused or completely canceled. Yeah. And oh my God, it was one of the most grueling days of my entire life. But
yeah, look, I was up in the New York area at the time.
Oh, God bless.
Like no Philly fans whatsoever. But it was an understood thing. I looked at my boss on Wednesday. I said, "What's up, Blair? I'll see you on Friday."
Yep.
and he's like, "Go get him."
Yeah,
literally, like no questions asked. Just like I'm not asking to be off tomorrow. I'm going.
I'm telling you, I will not be coming in.
Yeah, it was a religious experience, and I actually watched it similarly. I would have thought that year because I went to the Falcons game that year, which was fucking wild.
Yeah.
So that was the divisional round, second round, when we won on the last play, sealed it up. Never forget. I was right there behind the end zone, but. I was thinking like, oh yeah, this will probably be the year where I like go into Philly and watch with all the boys. And then I was talking to my dad. I'm like, no, we gotta watch this at home. Like we gotta do this right. So it was like literally, I came home and it was me, my mom, and my dad, and I'll never forget that.
Yeah,
it was just like, what just happened?
Yeah. No, and I remember the night that it all went down, I was running around in Philly, and at this point, I'm very intoxicated, having on a complete high, knocking on tattoo parlor doors that were all. I was trying to get the number 9 tattooed on my ribs because I was so, and it didn't work out, unfortunately. And the one that was open,
good for you, like picking the ribs. Other people were picking other places.
Yeah, no, I was like, I just want a little number 9. I wanted to remember it forever. And the one tattoo shop that was opened looked at me and he said, if you want this, you're going to come back tomorrow morning. And I was way too hungover. I wanted to just to prove him wrong.
Good for him.
Right?
That honestly, was a nice guy.
He was looking out for me. But it's still, I don't think I definitely wouldn't have hated it if it actually happened. That's definitely a story. But I think that guy did have my best interests in that moment.
It's tough tattooing a remembrance, I don't know how the fuck you say it, but you know what I'm trying to say, of a guy nicknamed Big Dick Nick on you. It's just, that's a tough thing.
No, it is. I've decided I'm going to get the date tattooed on me, and I'm that's going to happen.
Fair. That's fair.
That will be remembered on me forever. Yeah. There is one thing I do want to address, though, that we talked about before. Big. Not a Chargers fan, but I love the Chargers. Chargers play the Eagles in Philly this year. And now you have Justin Herbert is overrated. Tattooed.
I do.
Tattooed. Written on your mug.
I do. I did that for you.
Do you actually believe that, or was that just to trigger me a little bit?
It's a little bit of both. I was definitely trying to trigger you.
Okay, well,
because I know working. Like, it has a lot more to do with him off the field than on the field why you like him. I just catch those vibes heavy. Like you're definitely.
No, I mean it's definitely a combo of both.
Justin Herbert asks you out on a date. You're going there talking about the future of your life together.
Yeah, no, I'm
not just because of his money. Assume he's poor.
Oh yeah, no, I just love him, and I think he is the cutest little bean. I would name our children on
cutest little bean.
Cutest little bean.
He's a 6'6" bean.
But he's so precious. I miss the flow. I wrote Justin Herbert MVP on mine just to.
All right, so we're
just to
we're
come back at
out.
Yeah.
You think he's good though?
Oh, I think he's the future of football.
I think he's good too.
Yeah.
But you think he's the future?
Oh, I think he's the future. And that isn't because he's the cutest little bean. That is that is based on what I saw this season because the way he came out and he played good in college. Like he was a good college quarterback, don't get me wrong. What we saw in the NFL in his first season was so far above what we ever, like nobody expected that from him. We all knew he was going to be good. We didn't expect him to come out. At least I didn't.
I didn't know he was going to be good.
And he was great. And the reason that the Chargers record was not stellar and it didn't reflect how good, and not even just him, that team, they have a great roster. Like they have a good team. The reason was because of coaching, and I love Anthony Lynn as a person, so I never want to sit here and like bash him at all. But he's
not a head coach.
He's not.
Or you know what? He's not like He's not a head coach who should be in charge of play calling and
time
game
management. Yeah.
He's a great I actually think Anthony could be a phenomenal Super Bowl winning coach if he were like one of the. I'm trying to think like who's a good example of this. I'm totally blanking out right now, but there are a lot of coaches who aren't like Belichick, like calling all the plays and shit, or taking care of it. And Belichick actually like defers on a lot of shit, so that's not the best example. There's just a lot of guys who are phenomenal managers of the team and like leaders of men, and he's definitely that. So I was almost like disappointed to see him still take such control over in-game situations like that, because I feel like that's not like when he was on the Jets. As I think he was like the running backs coach, like he wasn't even a coordinator. He was like the most important coach, not named Rex Ryan, because everyone, what does Anthony think? That's our guy. That's our leader. You know what I mean? Besides Rex. So I felt like he could have done more of that and been a great coach. So I kind of hope he gets another shot to do it, because I think he could be great, but he was not, to your point, he was not good late in games this year at all.
Yes, and like the first time that we ever saw Justin was when Tyrod Taylor, he got the needle in his ribs, and that was a whole thing. But he found out 10, 15 minutes before that game was starting that he was going to be their starting quarterback that game.
Can you actually tell that Tyrod Taylor story? Because that needs to get attention.
Yeah, no. So basically what happened, this was a complete fuck up on the medical staff.
Yep.
I can't remember why there was something wrong with his ribs. I can't remember I think it was a bruise. There was something going on. And all it was he just needed the shot. It was a
like Toradol or something.
Just to get him through the game. No, this should not have been a big deal. And what happened was they ended up puncturing his lung. He had to get rushed to the hospital, and they basically fucked him over for the second time, because this is exactly what happened. Not exactly what happened to him in Cleveland, but he got injured in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield comes in. It's Baker Mayfield's team. Now we see it just happen again on the Chargers, because once Justin went out there.
Yeah, that was it. And like, do I think Tyrod Taylor's a Super Bowl winning quarterback? He's not.
No, but he's so good, and I just love him.
I feel so bad
He
about that.
deserves so much. And like, now we had our whole talk about the Texans. I hope he can come out for the Texans this season and start to turn things around, like bring some motivation back. But I don't know if he has that capability, because that organization is just kind of fucked. But I love him as a person. I feel terrible for him. And I felt terrible when he even got cleared and he could play for the Chargers. I didn't want Justin to be back. Like, he was too good. Like, he was doing too well to bench him.
I mean, look, could it have been a one-off mistake? Sure. But you hear so many horror stories about medical staffs in the NFL, who, by the way, are financially employed by the teams. And look, they're supposed to be doctors who make decisions that are in the best interest of the patient. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that's not how the world works with this. Mm-hmm. That's not a one-off situation. They're also giving them Toradol and shit. Like, you know how many of these guys they throw? That's what they were doing with Kelechi with his shoulder. They were giving him like fucking Toradol every week. Like, oh yeah, go tough it out. He had a ripped off the socket fucking shoulder.
Oh my god.
And it's like, and then that's why it just sat so wrong with me what the Jets did to him. But you know, because that whole thing was they wouldn't let him get the surgery. And so he went to the medical staff of the Jets was like, oh no, you don't need surgery. And he goes, are you fucking kidding me? And the Jets were terrible too.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm getting surgery.
Yeah.
And then they cut him for it. But whole separate story. You hear something like that though with Tyrod Taylor, who's just like trying to play for his team. They're like, oh yeah, we'll shoot you up with Toradol. Oh, sorry, we punctured your lung.
Yeah.
He should sue him.
He should.
He really should.
Because can you imagine how bad, imagine if something terrible actually happened. And thank God they handled it quickly. Everything ended up being fine. But you still fucked his career over royally. Yeah. And you genuinely could have fucked up his life. Like, can you imagine if something happened if they didn't get to it quick enough?
Hell yeah.
Like, that is not just, oh, you have a broken rib. Like, you punctured his lung.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
It's fucked up. But back to Herbert, though. So Herbert comes in. He was terrific as a rookie. He was absolute, and statistically, I don't have his stats in front of me, but he was
31 touchdowns.
So you know it down. I'll bet you know every single incompletion he had. But absolutely terrific as a rookie. They couldn't win some games late. They were like very close to being a good team. Just a lot of games went the wrong way in the last minute.
And that first game that he ever came out and played, remind you, was the Kansas City Chiefs, and he got that game into overtime.
He did.
And I'm telling you, the only reason they lost was because they were making stupid play calls.
Do you think he's got that it factor though?
Yeah.
I don't know. He might.
I think he does.
I'm not saying he doesn't. You think he does?
And the reason a lot of teams were nervous to draft him was because he's a timid guy. He's shy.
That's what I'm saying.
And they didn't know if he could be a leader. But from what I saw this season, he would come out and he would fuck up, and you would see it like by the next week. You saw him working on it, and you saw him, and this team kind of rallied, and that was a team of vet guys. Like, this wasn't a young team. Like, these are good guys that have played for a handful of years and rallied under him. And I think if you can build that, I just think there's something special there. And I do think he's going to start to break out of his shell a little more. I hope the flow comes back. I do. I love watching him. Like, he is mesmerizing to me.
What part's mesmerizing?
With the helmet on and actually playing the game. Okay. No, the game. He is talented. Thank you.
I believe you.
Thank you.
So who else do you think that? Well, actually, let me be specific. Tua last year, I kind of wanted to give him any kind of free pass for the whole year because he was coming off such a crazy injury, and he seems like he's healed. Knock on wood there, but there's a whole confidence thing that goes into planting. I mean, he had like a ripped out hip and stuff, so he wasn't like great. He had moments of being great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I kind of like the tough love Flores was given, where he'd just go to Fitz like, oh yeah, you're not playing well enough, we'll bring in Fitz magic. Yeah. But do you think Tua is going to continue to translate and turn into a great quarterback?
I think he can. I think he 100. And the fact, this is another reason where I talked about how I kind of am on the page where I like setting guys there for at least quarterbacks when they're young. The league has grown so impatient, and that's one of the things. They want talent, they draft you, they want it immediately, which in certain situations is fine. In others, I think it's very unfair, and I think how everyone is already trying to ship Tua out of Miami is extremely unfair. Because, like you said, 1, the injury, 2, it's a confidence thing, 3, his completions. Now, granted, this was over. Joe Burrow got hurt. They all didn't play the same amount of games, but overall, their end season, Joe Burrow had his completion percentage was 66%. Justin Herbert was 65%, and Tua was 64%. So for the passes that he did, like, I understand he didn't look as great, but for the passes that he was getting off, he was right up there with the two of them. Touchdowns didn't really even come close. I think he had 11 compared to Justin's 31.
Who's he throwing to besides Parker?
No, and that's the thing too. Miami is in the midst. They're still rebuilding. Yeah. They had...
I like Flores a lot.
I love him.
I think he's a great coach.
Yes.
I hope I'm right about that.
He is one of those guys, kind of like what we talked about earlier, that is the perfect mix of the tough love, but believing in you till no end. And he's brilliant. Like, he knows, remember... It wasn't this past season. It was the season prior where the Dolphins sucked. Like, they were terrible. And then it was those last 3 games. They beat the Patriots. Yeah, they beat the Eagles and they beat the Cowboys, like back to back to back.
That was one of the worst rosters I've ever seen in my life, and they won 5 games.
Yes. And I sat there, and it was that end of that season. I came into this season so gung-ho on the Dolphins. Like, I just had this like love for them because what I saw the last 3 weeks of that season, I said, there is something incredible here for them to be able to make that happen week after week. And like, it's not like they were getting anywhere. And everyone was like, why are you even winning these games?
The players believed in him.
Exactly.
They wanted to play for him.
And they were doing the trick plays that they whip out. Like, this is a smart, fun team. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to get you. Obviously, you need talent. Like,
you do.
That's number one. But when
they won 5 games with that team,
with
I repeat.
Nothing. Yes. And so when you can take talent that isn't even really necessarily guys you would pick, and you are still able to make things happen, that is impressive. And now with the draft capital that they have this season, with what they're building, I think Tua does have it in him. He played like a rookie to me. I didn't see any major red flags that showed me anything that he can't be a long-term franchise quarterback. There was nothing there that really rubbed me, like, he was making mistakes that is completely understandable as a rookie. Obviously, you don't want to see it and you don't want to condone it. You want him to learn from it. Yeah. But I think it's something he can learn from, and he's one of the guys that loves it.
Oh, he would not have.
Yeah, he would not have fought back from that injury.
That's not a problem.
So this is a team that I think is going to be scary good very, very soon. I literally can't say enough good things about them.
Well, the other guy to talk about, the other rookie from last year, is our guy, Hurts.
Yeah.
Because he did play very well when he came in. Now, my thoughts on Hurts, and I'm really open-minded here. I loved Hurts in college because I thought he was solid, like a good player on Alabama. I didn't think he was amazing. Never. Maybe part of it was I'm just so used to like Nick Saban puts out a machine, like I judged these guys before, whatever, and including Cheeseburger Mac Jones. But like that was probably part of it. But he never screamed like great NFL quarterback to me. When he handled that situation, though, where Tua comes in, saves the day in the national championship game, and then is basically the quarterback the next year. The class with which he handled that, the hard work that he put in that next year and stayed. Mm-hmm. He did not transfer. He knew he wasn't going to be the starter.
Yeah.
He stayed and was a leader on that team. To then transfer fairly after he had completed his 4 years at Alabama, his eligibility. So like it was not like I rescinded on my commitment. Everyone supported it. Goes to Oklahoma and was fucking incredible.
Yeah.
I love the story. I love his work ethic. I think he's clearly a leader off the field. He clearly has that dog thing in him. Clearly.
Changing his number to number 1.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's got that dog thing in him. So I like it, and I'm open to it. I'm still not, like, I'm way farther on his upside than I was when he was at Alabama, which again was probably some Alabama bias, like everyone's going to be good there. But I'm still not at Jalen can be the best quarterback in the league. Where are you?
So this is a very tricky situation for me. And like you said, and you will hear me say this, I say it all the time on my channel. Just because when I get frustrated over Carson Wentz, I never want people to take it as Hurts slander. And I want to make that very clear. Hurts was one of my favorite quarterbacks coming out of that draft last year.
How shocked were you when they drafted him?
My jaw was on the floor. Yeah. And I sat there. I take all the blame for it because I sat there with my mother, because who else would I be with? And I said, we can't really mess up the second round pick because we had so many holes to fill.
No.
I should have knocked on frickin' wood.
Howie Roseman can fuck things up.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yep. And I'm sitting there feeling, because not that they fucked up the first round, but they did. And I was like, all right, you know what? They're going to rebound here. I was so on board with taking Mims in the second round after taking Rieger.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah, and then having like this sick like little wide receiver duo. There were linebackers. We need a defense. Like there are so many things we could have done. I said, literally, if we take best of at almost any position, like you really can't go wrong here.
Can't fuck it up.
And then Eagles select Jalen Hurts, and I was so infuriated. I was silent.
He was too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he was too.
Oh yeah.
Remember that interview where they're like, "So what do you think with Carson Wentz?" I'm just very happy for the opportunity. He was miserable.
Yes, because what the hell were you thinking? Yeah. So he comes in, and because I'm a Wentz support, like I still don't take any Wentz slant. Like I love him. So it was a very weird feeling for me. And then with everything happened, all the doubt that just puts into Carson Wentz's mind. And we can bring back, he already had doubts in his mind because he didn't win us our Super Bowl. He's prone to injury. And now your team that's telling you they're all in on you goes behind your back and drafts a quarterback that we don't need in the second round. Yeah. There's a lot of underlying shit there that you gotta unpack. So everything happened. I respect the way Hurts came out and played. Like I respect everything he did for it. That game against the Saints this season, like that was one of my highs. Like it was one of the only good moments I could really like hold on to where I felt like I was rooting for my team again, and Hurts brought that for us. So I respect him. After everything we went to, now Wentz is in Indianapolis. We need to give him a fair chance.
Yep.
I think he's a good quarterback. I'm not 100% sold that he can be our long-term solution. I'm just not.
He's already way better at this level than I would have ever thought 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, he could play quarterback in the NFL as a back of the lot quarterback, someone who's going to be a Tyrod Taylor type, someone who's going to be a Ryan Fitzpatrick type, something like that. But he's already far beyond that. It's the question of, can he go to that next level? Look, he's got the arm strength. And the funny thing is, he's jacked.
Yeah.
Like, he squats 650 pounds. He competed in powerlifting. He is strong as fuck. What we forget is, like, he's not tall.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not short, but he's like 6'1", which is hilarious because he looks like a giant out there. So I don't worry about his durability. Like he's built like a brick shithouse. The question is like how much of the quarterback upside is there, and we'll see. I am not just because he's playing for the Eagles. I'm rooting for him so hard because I've always rooted. I love everything he's about. So I think it would just be an amazing story if he was. But we'll see. They need to your point, they gotta give him
weapons.
A shot. And they gotta give him weapons, but they gotta say like, all right, yo, this is your season right here.
And at this point, it's like the fact that even the quarterback draft situation is even still happening right now infuriates me. The fact that it's even a thought in the back of our minds. And people ask me every time I go on podcasts for the draft right now, and everyone's talking to me, what do you think's going to happen? What are your predictions? Blah, blah, blah. And
well, we'll know when this comes out, but yeah.
We'll know when it comes out, but that's like one of the first questions. Are the Eagles going to draft a quarterback? And the fact that I have to consistently keep answering this up until literally Tuesday, like it literally makes my blood boil.
If they draft Cheeseburger in Paradise, there's gonna be a problem.
No, I'm going to. My neighbors will call the police because they will think someone's being brutally murdered.
Let me tell you one thing that drives me nuts with athletes. Anyone like this. If I had that kind of God-given ability, and then you got to work too, right? So if I had ability and work and got to that level, and that were my job, and I was paid handsomely to do that. And by the way, it's like one of the sexiest things you can do because, dude, you're an athlete, you're a sports star. Like it's something kids dream about, right? I would invest every single resource I have into my body and working, because guess what? I don't need to be behind a desk or like doing something like that. I don't give a fuck about that shit. I have a window here to earn and be great, by the way, and also be a fucking legend. When I see guys who are out of shape, and I know that kid was in college, so we're going to see what he's like as a pro. Mm-hmm. But in college, let's be honest, he went to Alabama. You're not going there for fucking school. You're going there for football to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
Right? When you are out of shape like that, I have absolutely no patience for that. Your job is to get on a fucking treadmill. Your job is to get out there and run wind sprints. Your job is to lift heavy shit and put it back down. So when you're walking out there with a beer gut, I'm not cool with that.
Yeah.
I think it's bullshit.
Especially
I don't want you on my team.
Yes. Especially when you're that young and this is supposed to be like, you're supposed to show them I am everything that you want to build It's not like you're Ben Roethlisberger, who has been in the league for forever. If you look a little out of shape when you're Ben Roethlisberger, you've earned it. You've proven it. Yeah. You've proven, and like at some point,
he's also built.
He's also exactly. So like, and there are some things at a certain age, sometimes like you can't always control it. Like, shit, like you get old, shit happens. And not that Ben Roethlisberger's old. I don't want to sit here and offend an older generation.
No, he's old as fuck.
For a football player,
yeah,
he's old.
He's old.
So he just rubs me completely the wrong way, Mac Jones. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a prime example of what we were talking about earlier, where teams reach for the quarterback. Like they're looking at that 4th, 5th quarterback in the first round because they're smarter than everyone. And I guess sometimes it's worked. Not that Aaron Rodgers was the 4th or 5th one taken, but he was taking it at number 23, 24. He definitely fell. I'm missing some guys who were Mahomes was the 3rd quarterback off the board, I think. So it can work. It's just Mac Jones doesn't give me the vibes of guy with crazy upside.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you on that one. There are guys like I'm definitely, and I talked about this earlier, I'm definitely more sold on Trey Lance than I am Mac Jones. To me, he has so much more potential to make it.
And what's good about Trey, I used to, heading into drafts, and obviously I've done none of that this year, but I used to be a nerd and go and watch tape on all these guys and, try to be my own little, Mel Kiper back here, Todd McShane it up. But what stands out about him, because I've never watched a snap, that guy's play.
This is the first year that I've gotten very into draft. Usually I know like who the Eagles are looking for. Like I know who their top targets are. I know who the Eagles need, and I know the biggest names. But this is the first year where I can really like break down. I'm doing my own mock draft. Like this is the first time I've really gotten into it. I've done the research and I understand it like a lot more than just casually watching.
It's your business now.
It's my business. It's my job. It's my livelihood. Trey Lance, he is quick and not I mean, he's quick, mobile, like he can move, but mentally, like he can get the ball off. He can sling it. Like there's just something there. He's powerful and he makes mistakes. Like the reason he's going to fall is because he makes some stupid mistakes and he doesn't come out and he's not this perfect overall quarterback. And there are some red flags. However, the basics of his athleticism and his mentality, I can see him being a great quarterback. He just needs either a vet guy that can train him up a little bit or a very good coach. So that's no, I won't get my. I'll come back after.
On what?
On all my thoughts for how the draft actually went down. I don't want to give any predictions because this will already.
Well, we'll have to talk like right at the beginning of the season or like right before the season's going to start, so you can give a full preview. So we'll do it again then. But yeah, I know what you mean because like it's prototypical Monday morning quarterbacking with the draft. I always love like the draft grades the Monday after the draft because it's like, yeah, we've never seen these guys play a snap, but let's give them grades.
Yeah,
we don't know anything.
Yeah,
it is a crapshoot in that way.
And like the draft altogether, like we put so much hype in it, like we make such a big deal out of it. You never know. You think Tom Brady at 199th overall, like you expected 7 Super Bowls and the greatest of all time. Like we can sit here and predict everything from the first to last pick, and it's still going to be so far from like what actually like the expectations that we have now are not going to be all. I feel like the only one that we might all get 100% correct is Trevor Lawrence, and he might even. You never know.
You still never know.
Yeah,
there's no such thing as an absolute. I mean, I feel pretty fucking good about him.
I do too.
I feel the best I've felt about someone coming out. I feel stronger about him than I did about Luck, who was still maybe wasn't as great as he could have been. He also stopped early, but was still a great quarterback. Yeah. I feel tremendously stronger about Trevor Lawrence. That's how good I'm thinking he's going to be.
Yeah, and last season, I was very set on Joe Burrow was going to be a great NFL quarterback. And not that he wasn't. He had the unfortunate injury, so we didn't really get to see. But what we did see from him, I see all of the makings of someone that can be a franchise guy, and I think he can do wonders for the Bengals, and I'm hoping he comes out this season and hopefully they protect him and they do what they have to do. But I'm confident about Trevor Lawrence.
The thing that would scare me about Lance is who did he play? And that's not his fault. But look, it worked out with Joe Flacco coming out of Delaware because he wasn't playing against D1A schools.
Yeah.
He had led them to a national title, but at D1AA or what FBS, whatever the hell they call it now. And and it was a question with Wentz too, which now is an unanswered question in some ways. We've seen great Wentz. We've seen what happened this past year, which I actually think was, I do feel like that's going to end up being an outlier because that was the only year of his career where he was statistically bad. Every other year he was terrific.
Yeah, but and we had
worry about that.
No weapons, no O-line, and our play calling was absolutely garbage.
Yeah.
So.
And I also there was also instability there, but. With the Zack Wilson kid, and I don't have this in front of me right now, but I did see an analytics breakdown the other day of teams he played against it was 2 things. They had to be in one of the main conferences, and they were also of like a certain ranking, and his numbers were piss poor.
Yeah,
then he beat up on all the little sisters of the poor. Now, it could be because he was playing on BYU, and it's not like they have a special roster. But that's scary because when he had a shot, great players still find a way to perform. And his numbers were dog shit.
Yeah.
They were really bad against good teams. That's scary to me.
Exactly. Because, and I know this is extreme from Zack Wilson in college, but Aaron Rodgers has made guys on his team. He's turned the Packers have never gone out and got him like this number one brat. Like he has always made guys into what they are, and they like even Devontae Adams, one of if not the best receivers in the league right now.
Yeah,
and I don't know if he would have gotten there without Aaron Rodgers. Like he wasn't one of those big names, and now he is. Like Julian Edelman. The only reason there's even a Hall of Fame conversation right now is because he played with Tom Brady.
I on purpose did not listen to it. We're going right at that. Okay. Right now. You can't bring that up. We're going off topic and going
all right.
To that.
Okay.
I
on
purpose did not listen to that episode you guys had where I saw you talked about Edelman heavily.
Okay.
So I will ask you straight up. Where do you stand on the Julian Edelman Hall of Fame conversation?
He is not a Hall of Famer. He's a great receiver. God. He's not a Hall of Fame receiver.
The thing that pisses me off about this conversation is then it has to have the inherent stigma of like you're talking shit on Edelman. I don't want to do that at all. I love Julian Edelman. I think he was a very good player.
Yes.
Right? Great leader, improbable career. I remember when I was like 9 or 10 years old, week 2, 3, or 4 of the college football season, he was quarterback for Kent State. I think he was a freshman or a sophomore. He was young, and they were playing in Ohio State at their stadium, and they got shellacked. But I remember watching him going, damn, this kid's like feisty as fuck. And then he got drafted. I'm like, that's pretty cool. He got drafted. He'll last a year. And then he had this whole career, and he was a very good player, rose to the occasion, gamer in the playoffs. But if you think for a second that when we can't even get Hines Ward on a final ballot, if you think for a second that Hines Ward wasn't double the player.
Chad Ochocinco?
Oh my God.
He changed the position. Like, he evolution. Like,
Reggie Wayne.
Yes. There's a plethora.
Sterling Sharp.
And, it boggles my mind. And I agree with you 100%. Me saying he had a very good career. A great career. Yep. 3-time Super Bowl winner, 1-time Super Bowl MVP. They wouldn't even have gotten one of their Super Bowls if it wasn't for him. That catch in against the Falcons. He did wonders. His postseason stats are literally best of the best. He ranks in receptions. I believe in the postseason, he ranks only behind Jerry Rice. Yeah. So, and
he played in a lot of them, but still.
Exactly. Yes. So, he had a great career, but this is the Hall of Fame. This is the best. Tyreek Hill has only been in the league for 5 years, and he already has 17 more career touchdowns than Julian Edelman.
Tyreek Hill today, if he decided to retire, I would put him ahead of Julian Edelman on a ballot 100%. Every day of the week.
Exactly. And that is just because, and that's what, I didn't mean it to sound harsh when I said, Julian Edelman got lucky to be playing with Tom Brady, but that's kind of the reality. If he was with any other quarterback, because they had this special relationship, that whole team just worked. Their relationship worked. If he was with anybody else, I think he would have been a decent receiver, but he wouldn't have had the acclimates that he had, and it wouldn't be a conversation in the slightest. So if anything, I think this just highlights how good Tom Brady actually is, because the only reason this conversation is even being had is because they were on the team together and he got to be along for that ride with Tom Brady.
You also just made a great point, though, and I know this from some of the guys who were around them who actually know them, but he legitimately worked with Brady all offseason.
Yes.
All offseason every year. So it wasn't just they developed greater chemistry, which they did. It was he was like a pseudo leader in the realm of Brady as those years went along. And there was that buy-in there that made it different than can you catch that ball versus can that guy catch that ball?
Yeah.
You can't tell me when Brady's throwing to Randy Moss, he doesn't feel a hell of a lot better about it than throwing to Julian Edelman. Of course he does.
Yeah.
It's a matter of the vibe, the tone you set. And so Julian Edelman deserves a ton of credit around that. But I think this whole thing, because, he's kind of a rocky story. He's came from a smaller school, was playing a totally different position, somehow got drafted in the 7th round. That was not supposed to happen, right? Gets drafted. Okay, he's not going to last. Against all odds, playing at a skill position as somebody who had never played there before. Let's call it what it is. He's also a white guy. We're athletically challenged. So, he came past all these odds, and it's a Rocky-ish type story. I love it.
Yeah.
But we've created this culture now where when someone comes against odds, we want to give them the top of the food chain of praise. And I saw a similar one on another guy who I love for a lot of other reasons, who is an average player, and it's who we talked about, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Mm-hmm. There were people last year calling to put him in the Hall of Fame because of what a leader he is and how he's had this long NFL career.
You just can't do that.
It's participation trophy culture. We want everyone to win.
Yeah.
No, you
and
have
it doesn't
to draw
work
the line.
like that. The Hall of Fame is for the guys that came in and changed the league, put up the best of the best numbers. So, and that's why also, I don't understand how the Julian Edelman Hall of Fame debate turned into an Eli Manning Hall of Fame debate. This has nothing to do. You can't correlate the two. Two different positions. They're two entirely different conversations. So the fact that that is even like an argument in the midst of all this drives me crazy.
To be honest, though, cut you off real quick.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put Eli in the Hall of Fame. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. That said, he's getting in every day of the week ahead of Edelman.
Absolutely.
It's not even remotely close.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I said, like, I don't even think if you want to put Julian Edelman in, if they get there, well, let me preface, T.O. should have been in much earlier than he was.
Absolutely.
That was the media, his attitude kind of thing. And that's the only reason Chad Ochocinco isn't in there, I believe.
Which I don't really get.
I don't get, it's not fair.
Yeah.
But apparently, media didn't like him. And it's a voting thing. He hasn't been able to make it in, whatever. If Julian Edelman is ever to be in the Hall of Fame, I think it has to be way down the road. Like, whatever. And Hines Ward, these are guys that have to get in above him. If you give those guys the credit they deserve, and then you still want to give it to Edelman, whatever, who am I to argue? But one, don't think it's fair. Two, I don't think he deserved it.
Yeah, you have to draw the line.
You do.
And that's a hill I'll die on. If people want to come at me and say that I'm being ridiculous, that he doesn't belong, dude, I wouldn't put him on the ballot. I only want people on the ballot who, A, have a shot to get in, and B, have the resume to do it.
Exactly.
You have far too many, like a guy who's not going to get in, I don't think. Donovan McNabb.
Yeah.
Donovan McNabb is a Hall of Famer every day of the week ahead of Julian Edelman. Again, it's not even remotely close. And so when you start playing, and you have to play that comparison game a little bit, when you start playing that game, you can't name somebody who's not in there right now who's been in that conversation, who he is ranked above in that conversation. There's no one. There's literally not one person. So we set this expectation now, and now it's like, oh, you're being an asshole to a guy coming out of the league. No, I'm not. I'm just saying, like, yo, he's a legend in New England.
Yeah.
He's a legendary story. He's just not getting a gold jacket.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that difficult, you know?
And that's what, he also had such, like, the way he announced his retirement, the love that the Patriots, like, this should have been such a, like, it should have just been nice, like a great way to go out. He had this great career. He played all 12 seasons in New England. Like, this could have just been like, oh, thank you, Julian Edelman, done. And now it's turned into this entire argument when it really, I don't think there's an argument to be had. I get he's a 3 times, like, I see all, I get it. I see it. I watched it all happen. You still can't pull any numbers out that give me any reason to push me to accepting that he's a Hall of Famer. There's nothing there.
This is what our culture loves to do, though. We're not content to just be like, oh, we're enjoying it, or like, oh, he's great, or he's great. We have to compare everyone.
Yeah.
Put everything. I mean, it starts all these crazy conversations, but it's fun, too.
Like,
I enjoy having them because I've been a sports fan since before I could talk. So there are some guys that I have out there takes on. You know, like when people say, as an example, when people ask me who the greatest wide receiver of all time is, I say, if you want me to go through and tell you straight up based on full body of work and everything who the greatest is, it's Jerry Rice. Mm-hmm. But if you're asking me who my greatest is, who one play we got to do some shit, it's not even close. Jerry Rice isn't in the same territory, no disrespect. It's Randy Moss.
Yeah.
You know, so like I enjoy these conversations and stuff, but we take them too far on some things, and I feel like we're just getting bored sometimes because when you start going in the realm of, oh, Julian Edelman, Hall of Fame, the guy barely made a fucking Pro Bowl.
It reminds me of the LeBron James, Michael Jordan debate.
Yeah. But actually, tell me why specifically.
Just because, all right, so we're comparing Julian Edelman to all these guys. The problem I have with the LeBron Michael Jordan debate is they are from such different eras, and basketball has changed so much from when Jordan was playing. When he was playing, it was ruthless. They were out there trying to kill him. It was more grit and power than it was actual technical ability. Basketball today is graceful, and there's actual you know what I mean? Not saying it wasn't technical, but there's a lot more to it now, and there's a lot more thought process that goes into it instead of I am just going to run and kill people and get the ball in. Like,
it was a tough game.
Yes.
I mean, they bodied each other.
Yes.
Kind of like it better, to be honest.
I watching The Last Dance, I literally said, I was like, I wish I could go back and watch basketball like this because I didn't get to enjoy. I didn't get to enjoy it.
I was gonna say, how in touch were you with that before?
I'm not from a basketball family, so I didn't even really get into it until I was like in my teens. So I know it, and I don't want to say as a pansy thing, but like they're dramatic. Like they get hit in the arm and they flail, and I guess they need to do that in order to get the fouls and to make it happen. So like I'm not knocking them, but it's just not like I miss it. I wish I could have actually enjoyed it the way it was when Michael Jordan played. So, and people get so intense, LeBron versus Jordan. I personally, I don't know where you stand on it. They are each the best of their time. Yep. And I personally, if you're asking my opinion, my answer is Michael Jordan, just because of everything that he's done and everything he's accomplished. And LeBron is incredible. Yep. And LeBron is the best there is right now. And he's one of the greatest that we are ever going to see.
He's the greatest athletic specimen I have ever seen in my life.
Yes, and he is incredible. But you can't Michael Jordan he created and like everything he did was so far past the game. So like if you're asking me, compare the two, and even just basically the way they were playing, the grit Michael Jordan had was unbelievable. The things that he made happen, like to me, you just can't top that, no matter how great you are. So, and also, but on another note, you're comparing apples and oranges because the game LeBron is playing now is so different than the game Jordan was playing. And it just kind of like how people are turning the Julian Edelman Hall of Fame debate into an Eli Hall of Fame. Like it's so strange. I see where you're going with that comparison now. Yeah. It's just strange to me.
Yep. So I actually do enjoy when it doesn't get too nasty, the LeBron Jordan talk, because it's kind of funny.
Yes.
But
people take it too seriously.
Number one, more enjoying, less fighting. Like he's still playing and he's playing at this unbelievably high level, and it's incredible watching him play. So let's enjoy it while it lasts, because he's old as fuck now, and he's still
looks incredible.
Still in his prime. Still like literally in his prime, which is amazing. But that could end. You never know. That can end any day. So I want to enjoy that, and I don't want to be fighting over stuff. I have an interesting take in that, yes, I'm a Jordan guy, and I could go into all the reasons why, and I'm very comfortable with that and what that is, because I'm a basketball junkie. Like I used to watch like high school games online when I was like 14, go stream like who the next, I was nuts. So I've watched all Jordan's career. I was coming, like I could just watch TV at the tail end, and like not when he was with the Wizards, so tail end in 98 with the Bulls. So I remember watching him play. It's like one of my first visual memories, period. But I believe that if LeBron James had played in Michael Jordan's era, he would be by so far the best player to ever play the game, because I actually think he's more built for that era, because he's a fucking machine. I think he would have killed people.
Yeah.
I think he would have body bagged people, because he wouldn't have been flailing around and trying to sell fouls. He'd have been breaking your face off on the court. And I don't think people could have stood up to it. No. And so even though, and here's the other thing. LeBron sometimes in his career has gotten the X factor. Sometimes. Jordan always had it. Jordan lived with it. Jordan couldn't play ping pong without having the X factor. LeBron doesn't have that gene.
Yes.
If he had lived in that era, everything's environment. He might have. He came up in the era when social media was starting, and like this whole had all the crowds and attention on him as well. Jordan was in the quiet behind the scenes era, right? And he also came onto the scene when Bird and Magic were ruling the show, and he could kind of rise in Chicago and the Midwest on his own. If LeBron had had the opportunity to have that environment and also wasn't crowned the king on national TV as a 14-year-old who's impressionable, I think he would. I don't think it would be close.
Yeah.
But he's not. He was born in this era, and he's phenomenal. And I don't think there's a question at this point that he's the second greatest to ever do it. I would say that pretty comfortably. No disrespect to Kobe, no disrespect to Wilt Chamberlain, but I will say that. It's just, unfortunately, there was no one like what Michael Jordan did for about an 8-year period there, -1, where he was retired. There was no one. There's no one like that.
Yeah, I agree 100% with everything that you just said.
And so you enjoyed The Last Dance, though, because that was your first taste of it?
Yes. Yeah. And like I've gone back and I've watched like Michael Jordan documentaries, and we had to do it for school. And like I've watched old games, but like being able to and the only thing that bothered me about The Last Dance, I will say this, I wish it went more in like a chronological order, because I wasn't alive for a lot of it.
Yeah.
So like I was like kind of jumping around and I was like piecing it together and I knew everything, but like I wish I could have just watched it like play out all the way through, but whatever. I've watched it 3 times. Like I can't get it. It like hypes me up. Like it motivates me.
The best part of that, like low key, was when they had on like Clinton and Obama and it didn't say like president. It said like former governor of Arkansas, former Chicago community, whatever it said of Obama. I was fucking cracking up. That was hilarious.
Crazy.
Like I'd have been, if I were Clinton and Obama, I would have been calling up the producers like, are you fucking kidding me? It was like the best troll. It was like borderline disrespectful, but hysterical nonetheless.
No, it was amazing. But that was really my first take at like watching how everything really unfolded. And I literally was, and it was like in the height of quarantine. I was sitting there like in awe of it. There were no other sports on. I was just in love with it. And that's when I was always Team Jordan. Like always, not because of my name, because there are people that are literally like, well, you have to be Jordan. And I'm like,
hey,
no.
I'm not Team Julian Edelman in the Hall of Fame.
See, thank you. And I'm like, I'm not going to make this debate just because our names are the same. But that kind of solidified it for me. And I was like, no one can ever change my mind or steer me in another direction.
And another place where you got to defend LeBron is that people have compared things that piss off LeBron or that piss them off about LeBron's personality and shit, which is micromanaged off the court and everything. Michael Jordan had the luxury of not being in the social media era because, Michael Jordan's a dog.
Yeah.
He's a dick.
I think he would have been canceled so fast if he was around in the social media.
Yeah.
Like if the height of his career was right now, he would be canceled every other minute.
Yeah. And, I think LeBron has also, one of the positives about him is I think he has focused on doing things off the court philanthropically, also very close to his roots, that Jordan never put enough of an emphasis on. And there was a different era, different expectation, although he's around now, he's the owner. I have seen him do some things in the last few years. I will say that. Like he's done, and he's been slightly public about some of it. So I do appreciate that. I don't want to judge him too hard, but LeBron should get a lot of credit for that. The whole I Promise school and his foundation, it's very cool. It's true to who he was. Even when he left for Miami and did the whole decision thing, like he stayed true to that route there, never left that, left for LA again, never left that. Very, very cool. But I think the biggest conversation for me is like what I said a little bit ago, which is the appreciation instead of just constantly fighting over it. Because I'll tell you, you snap your fingers and a guy's gone. You take for granted what they do. I don't know how much you had to, because you said you weren't into basketball till high school, but I grew up on Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson was an absolute soldier on the court.
No, and I'm getting my master's from Georgetown right now. So
wow.
I literally said when I made that decision, I was like, I need an AI college jersey.
Oh, yeah, the Hoya 3.
Yeah.
It is hard for me to put into words. He is my favorite of all time. I always tell people, I've been lucky enough to be around some stars sometimes. They're people, right? They want to be treated as people. I don't really get starstruck. It just like, hey, man, wow, it's really cool. You know, and that's what they want. There are 2 guys, Al Pacino and Allen Iverson. I could not guarantee that I would not fall all over myself if I met them. But with him, I was a kid, young, growing up when he was at his best. And looking back on it, I didn't do anything wrong, but you take it for granted.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, it's going to go on, throw up 35 tonight, no problem. On like a bum foot or bum knee or something.
Yeah.
He's going to start off injured for the first half and shoot 0 for 12 and then come out and win the game in the second half and get beat up by Shaq and still somehow be alive afterwards. You take it for granted. And then I remember it was like emotional for me when he got traded to Detroit and I saw him lose a step. And it was like watching an angel lose their wings. I mean, it was like tough.
That was so sad.
Because he was still great.
Yeah.
Like he was still better than 95% of players in the league. But it's like, oh, he can't make that cut the same. And one of the coolest things I ever saw, which I've never seen people talk about, and it's like a quiet thing because it was for a moment. It was for a 12-minute quarter, really. But now it has a whole different meaning to it, and I'm glad I appreciated it long before anything bad happened, but you'll understand what I mean in a second. When AI came back to the Sixers for a few months in 2010, and he was not at that was the year after Detroit. Now he was back like 5 steps. I mean, his body was just finally saying, yo, you beat us up too much. There was a game in January that year in Philly against the defending champion LA Lakers. And Kobe and AI always had a thing, obviously. Same draft class, competitive, but good friends. And Kobe was Kobe. At the day, he was the best player in the league.
Yeah.
AI was now lost a step. And the Sixers, like in the first half, kind of hung in there. Maybe they were down, I forget. Maybe they were down like 12 at the half or something. And then in the third quarter, going like a few minutes into the third quarter, this thing happened that lasted into the first half of the fourth quarter, where the clock turned back time for those 12 minutes, and Allen Iverson and Kobe Bryant started dueling. And like they were guarding each other and shit. And you're just, I remember watching that in my kitchen, just stopping, and the hairs on my arms were standing up. This is like February maybe or January of 2010. And you're just seeing Allen Iverson be Allen Iverson for like the last 10 minutes. And it turns out this is one of his last games he ever played. And you see that thing in Kobe where he's like, yo, I know the Sixers suck, but like this is the championship right here. And these two greats just start going at it, and you're like, damn. And then it ended. And now years later, I think about that, where they basically both had 20 points in a span of 12 minutes and, you know, assists and everything and just running the court. And I'm like, when you are seeing this as guys get longer in the tooth, you don't know when the last time's going to be. So instead of just fighting and bitching over shit, just watch it and be like, that person was put on this earth to do this thing, and I'm going to enjoy that right now.
Yeah.
We have to do more of that as a culture.
We do. Wow, that was really inspirational. Now you're going to make me regret ever hating on Tom Brady, because I feel like that's going to be one of those things where I look back and I'm like, I really got, like, my kids are going to ask me about Tom Brady. And
we've seen him for so long, I feel like
he's earned it a little bit.
It's not just that. I feel like you definitely, even if you like loathe it, you have appreciated it because you've watched it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I know I don't give him, and maybe I'm hard on him just because like he is the best and like I expect the best from him, but like as if he hears me, but but I don't know. I take it a little too tough on him sometimes because he is the GOAT.
He is. Question on him though, because let's just say, let's give him another Super Bowl, which is actually still that's hard to do.
Yeah,
it's a definite possibility, but it's hard to do because like you don't know. But let's give him one, which is not conservative. But let's say he ends with 8, and he plays. What is he? 42 right now? 43? I
think he's 42.
Okay, so he plays till he's 44 or 45. Do you think, even though he did just beat him in a Super Bowl, do you think Patrick Mahomes can have that kind of staying power and that kind of career and be the best to ever do it? Because I will preface this and say that as far as any player at any position on the football field with the most talent I have ever seen, it's him. Yeah. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Patrick Mahomes overall is the most talented athlete ever. Nobody can, not football player.
Football, yeah, I was going to say LeBron James.
Yeah,
I'll argue that all day.
Yes. No, football wise, the greatest, the most athletic, the most talented we've ever seen. Yep. And not even I've ever seen, that we have ever seen. However, it is going to be that's the next NFL debate, Brady or Mahomes, like long term, like that's what I think people are going to debacle.
7 years from now.
Yeah. After Brady retires, like that's going to be the conversations that people are having. And I said it before this Super Bowl. I said if Brady beats Mahomes today, I don't know if Mahomes, no matter how many accolades he has, one, I think he would have to top Brady in Super Bowls, which is going to be extremely hard to do. If he does that, then I think he takes the cake. If he doesn't, no matter how talented, no matter his numbers, I still think Brady would have the upper hand on that argument, just because you can say, well, Brady beat Mahomes. And there's a lot to that, because Mahomes played that game with the most heart and soul I've ever seen. Mahomes did not lose this Super Bowl for the Chiefs.
No, he didn't.
There was so many other factors. So, like, even saying that kind of...
Brady lost to Eli twice, too.
Exactly. But so there's so... It is going... I think there is... But like I said, Patrick Mahomes is going to have to come back and win 7-8 Super Bowls, which not out of the question if the Chiefs can...
It's not.
Like, if someone's going to do it, it's going to be him. But for him to be able to come back and top Brady, he needs to have that many rings on his hands.
I agree with you 100% on that. It is a rings game with that, so he will need to do that. I also, though, have never seen a player where a play can be the most broken thing of all time, and you're like, no, they're good. Like, every play can be a touchdown. In that first half specifically, there were like 5 balls that he threw that frankly could have been caught or should have been caught.
Yeah, absolutely.
That, like, how the fuck did he do that?
Yeah.
And if he lands 2 of those, that's a different game. And it wasn't on him that they didn't land.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, just... And we were at the Maxwell Awards in 2019 in Atlantic City when wow, that's fucking 2 years ago. That's insane. But we were running media there, and he and Andy Reid, he won like the MVP award for the NFL. Andy Reid won Coach of the Year, so they came in together. And they're, by the way, like, that's real.
Yes.
Like, they are, like, Andy Reid's mom and Patrick, or Andy Reid's wife and Patrick are extremely close. Like, the whole, like, that's very real. But the thing about him is that in addition to what I've seen on camera, he is one of the largest human beings I've ever seen. Like, there's no way he's like, I don't know what they have his weight listed at. It's wrong. The first time I ever saw him, I was getting out of the elevator at the Trop. Fucking guy, they dragged him out to the Tropicana in Atlantic City. What a goddamn trooper. But I get out of the elevator in the Trop and through the haze and, you know, like all the smoke going through the goddamn place. Patrick Mahomes is walking from me to this Joel Embiid statue right in front of me. And I remember because I know it's him because of the hair right away without even seeing his face. I remember looking up and being like, what the fuck? Like,
he's just a beast of a human being.
Oh my God. He could beat up Brady with his 2 fingers like that.
You know, and me saying that about the argument and like, I can't say enough good things about Patrick Mahomes. Like, you just can't.
He's a gamer too.
He knows what he's smart. And remember when his kneecap popped back? He came back in 3 weeks.
He's got genes.
Yes.
He's got some
like,
genes.
And so you get nervous, like, you're like, oh, well, what if he gets... I'm, like, not worried about it. Like, if you can come back from that as quick as he did and just still be you after... Like, he is not human. Like, he's just unreal. But I still think, even already, he is more athletic than Brady ever has been.
Oh, my
like,
God. Not even a question.
But yet... Brady will still top him in the greatest of all time argument just because of the Super Bowls.
So,
and what he's been able to make happen.
Well, let me add a twist to it.
Right.
And then you just introduce a topic you don't know you introduced. That's a great conversation.
All right.
But quick twist.
All right.
Let's say Mahomes and Brady have a rematch this year in the Super Bowl and Mahomes wins. And then, Brady retires within a couple years. Mahomes goes on. If he can get to, let's say he has to get to 8 rings. Yeah. He'll be listed as better than Brady.
Absolutely. We said it. It's literally going to come down. And it sucks and it pisses me off that that's how it's going to be because overall Patrick Mahomes is going to have a better career than Brady. He already had. Like, literally. Like, you're there. Statistically, yeah.
Yep.
But it's going to come down to he needs to win the big game as many times as he possibly can. And that is going to be the determining factor. The one thing that is going to make this interesting is if he doesn't get there, now we're years down the road. Mahomes at the end of his career or already retired, and people are having the debate. If Mahomes doesn't reach all those rings,
no shot.
And say they never rematch, or if he loses to Brady again in a Super Bowl, like now you have that where Brady has his upper hand and he has the big number. Like, so it's definitely going to be interesting. Mahomes has to step up big and just keep going back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's so early too. Like we're talking years down. A lot of shit can happen between now and then. But from a talent perspective, I've never seen, as I said, I've never seen anything like him. And this is not a shot at Mahomes because as I said, Mahomes has the X factor.
Absolutely.
Like he's that guy. He's a worker and everything. But, Tom Brady's a sociopath.
Yeah, he is.
If you gave Tom Brady Patrick
Did we
Mahomes'
just call Tom Brady
ability,
a sociopath?
he would have never lost a game in the NFL. He would be 1,000. He hasn't played 1,000 games, but you know what I mean. He'd be like 200-0 in his NFL career. He would have never lost 300, whatever it is, 400-0. He would have never lost a game. Mm-hmm. That is how much talent Patrick Mahomes has.
Yeah.
Which leads to the next question on Brady that you just introduced.
Okay.
Which is this whole thing, and I'm being a hypocrite because I said like we shouldn't be comparing all these things, but this is less of a comparison one. It's worth the question. You heard people say when they're saying GOAT after the Super Bowl, which he was already the GOAT to me. I don't know why that it didn't just become a thing, but for some people it did. They're like, oh, he's the greatest athlete of all time. Because now they're comparing him across sports. And people get really hung up on the term athlete. So when I think athlete, I'm combining in like physical abilities and shit like that, which, Tom Brady runs a 5.5 40. He's built like a cheese doodle.
He is.
Okay?
Do you remember
he's not the athlete.
Do you remember the pictures from when he got drafted?
No, he's come a lot farther.
He's aged backwards, first of all. Like, literally, if you look at, like, it's insane.
Some going on there.
There's some going on. But, you look at that guy and you're like, this man is not going to do anything in the NFL. Like, he just didn't look like, he looked like he worked as an accountant. Like, that was the body he had, and he's turned into this. Wait, I want to continue where you were going.
No, I'm putting it out there. I'm just.
Do you think?
So I don't. When people, for me, it comes down to the term of athlete.
Okay.
I am not like, if you want to have, is he the greatest of all time across sports because of what he's accomplished in his sport? First of all, I think it's really difficult to compare across sports. That's the first thing. So I already think it's kind of a dumb argument, right? If you're going to do it though, and you're going to say greatest athlete of all time, are you just saying, by the definition of athlete, someone who competed in a game versus athlete like also abilities and stuff? Because if you want just pure abilities, we could sit here and talk about Bo Jackson. And and no disrespect to Bo, Hall of Famer, amazing player. It's not like you're saying like, is Bo Jackson the GOAT of football? No, he wasn't, right? But he was maybe the greatest athlete to ever play the game. I think it's a mix of the two. So like, if you're talking greatest athlete, I can't put Brady if part of my definition falls into like physical ability, I can't put Cheese Doodle above LeBron James. I can't put him above Michael Jordan.
No, I think Brady, the way it should be worded when you're talking about Brady is one of the greatest leaders that has ever played any sport ever.
You nailed it. That's what I think. Yes.
And that's what it comes down to, because it's not that he's the most athletic, but he's smart and he knows how to take every person that's on his roster and utilize them to the best of their ability. From the second the game starts to the second the game ends, he is planning everything down to that last second. Like, he can see it. So there is something there, but it's not necessarily physical at all. Like, and obviously you have to be somewhat physical to do what he does, but what makes Brady is his leadership and his mental, like how he can see the game.
Agreed. 100% agreed. And you nailed it with the leader thing. Like, that's where I say, like, when I'm saying GOAT, that's half of it. I mean, he is a dog on the field, and he has absolutely no chill. Like, in the sense that he's this skinny cheese doodle, as I call him, and he doesn't give a fuck how big you are. He'll walk up to you and tell you, I'm going to kill your fucking family.
Yeah.
Like, he's a sociopath. I think that plays into it and makes him a part of, like, it's a part of his like, I love that Tyrann Mathieu thing, because he'll be pretty good after the game. Like, he'll be like, hey, I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. But like, when he goes between the lines, he's a dick.
Yes.
And I love it. Like, people rip on him for that. I'm all about it.
When he got into, I was so for it, because he was all up on him that whole game. Like, the camera was more on Tyrann than it was on Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So, and it was all him being pissed and egging it on. So when Tom Brady finally was like, enough, and he chased him down and went after him, I was like, yes, King. Like, I loved seeing that side of him.
Yeah, there's something in the competitive juices when you see that in some guys. it gets you going. You're like, this is what they live, breathe, and shit, and they don't care about anything else. And it's like, it's along the lines of what I was saying earlier. If I was paid to be an athlete and I loved it, I should love it.
Yeah.
If it's something every kid dreams. Like, if you actually can get there, you should love it. You want to give it everything you have. And like, for me, that was what was so, on another note, that was what was so rewarding as a longtime fan of Michael Vick, who was very disappointed in him with what he did, because obviously, like, I'm a dog lover too. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
But, he, in my opinion, as far as like someone who came back with a second chance and knocked it out of the park, like as a human being, off the field, even more importantly, frankly, in that case, but then also on the field and reigniting that and seeing, he was a little guy.
Yeah.
And seeing that type of competition level, I will always respect the dog in him, because he did have that. And it's like, I can't believe I just said dog. I'm sorry. That was really fucked up. I didn't mean to do that. I swear to God. I have bad luck with Michael Vick. So I told a story on another podcast. You'll love this one.
Okay.
We had our senior year of college. I lived with a bunch of my buddies were all football players at school. So our one friend sends us a group text June before senior year and says, guys, I'm really thinking about, I think we should have a house dog. We're living off campus. We're doing whatever. We should talk about this. And we're all like, okay, we'll talk about it. Get a text 10 hours later. Guys, after a long time thinking about this, I've decided to get a dog. Congratulations. His name is Lucius. Here's a picture. And we're like, oh, so he just decided. but it's like, we love you, Connor. But anyway, so he gets this dog and he buys a little blue-nosed pit bull who was like the sharpest looking dog I've ever seen. Like, Lucius was like unbelievable, like should have been a dog model. And so we raised this little puppy, and he had to be a people dog too. So we raised him to be like kind of a pussy, right? So, which he's not now, but he's like, he's not like, when you think like nasty pit bull, which also isn't fair.
Yeah.
He is the farthest thing from that, like just a sweetheart. And so Lucius, freshman year or senior year at the beginning, me and my other friend who was retired from the football team basically were raising the dog for a few months while they were in season. So I would take him for walks. And he was a little puppy at the time. And so one day, very early on in the year, it was a nice day. And I'm like, all right, let's see if he can last up the campus. He starts pulling me. I'm like, oh shit, he's going to last. And we would keep stopping by people. It's like, you're walking a dog on a college campus. I know what I'm doing, right? Like it's a total like, all right,
it's definitely
who am I meeting at the bar tonight
definitely.
After this one? So they're all stopping by and they're like, oh my God, you're such a
Look
cute
at
dog.
your dog.
And they would all look up at me and then like double take and give me like an almost nasty look and then like move along. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is so weird. And so I make my way around campus, come back, and I'm like, this is still happening. Why is everyone looking at me funny? And so I get back to the house, and back then there was an app called Yik Yak, which was basically, it later folded because they couldn't control the bullying on there, but it was this thing where it was popular on college campuses, especially because anyone could post any tweet, like pseudo tweet on the app, like a Yik Yak, anonymously about shit going on, and it was seen by people in a 10-mile radius. So you can imagine what kind of shit happened on there. So then people would like it, and it was very one-dimensional, and that was it. So I get on there, and there's one all the way at the top with like 3,000 likes on it from about 10 minutes before. And there's like 4,000 kids who went to school. So I'm like, holy shit. And it reads, is it just me? Or it was like, am I really high right now? Or is there a dude walking a pit bull puppy in a Michael Vick jersey? And I looked down, I'm like, oh no!
When you literally were telling that story and you were like, and everyone kept looking at me and walking away, I was like, tell me he was walking this dog in a Michael Vick jersey.
Yeah, so I have bad luck with that. But anyway, back to what I was trying to say about Michael Vick. There was just that thing about him, not just the it factor, but you talk about being an athlete. And like when you think great athlete, he was different.
Yeah.
I had Grant Wiley in here who won Big East Rookie of the year after Vick won. And he played against Vick, sacked him, tried to kill him on the way out of bounds one time. And he was like, you just knew. You were on the field with this guy and you're like, oh, I'm in the presence of something different today.
Yeah.
And so it's no shot at Brady when I say this stuff. But when we're talking like greatest athlete, yes, you do get that feeling with him when you're on the field with him, I'm sure, because he's the GOAT.
He's Tom Brady.
He's Tom Brady. But from a physical perspective and ability perspective, you're not like, oh, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. He's just Tom fucking Brady.
Yeah.
And he finds a way, and he's smarter than you. He works harder than you, and so he's going to win more than you. But it's not like, Jordan jumping from the foul line or Michael Vick running a fucking 4.1 40 down the sideline and making everyone look stupid. It's a different conversation.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
No comeback on me.
No. I like that. I still can't get over that story of you walking the dog. That's what's in my mind right now.
I'm never gonna live that down. It was like I'm like open about it. I share it now because it's like it's a part of my story. But that was my low moment. And
it's okay.
I don't think people ever took me seriously again on that campus as far as like owning the dog. But I swear to God, like he was a great dog, and we loved him. And, we don't condone any of that other stuff. So
no, and the thing with Michael Vick too, he was very accountable for everything that he did wrong. Like, and that's my thing. People will fuck up, and sometimes it's a lot worse than others. But if you can sit here and you can own up to what you did and you can do everything in your power, you can't erase what he did.
Yep.
But it's not like he slid it under the rug. Like, he did everything he could to learn from it and to rebuild, and he came back from it. And that is something I can condone in a person. Like, I can respect. I'm not going to ever forgive, but I can respect everything that you've done to rebuild from it.
Been a dog owner for a decade now too.
Yeah.
I don't think people really talk about that, but that's a fact. Like, he was, and the other thing is, not to relitigate that, but I have a lot of empathy for environment and stuff, and what people have to understand, it does not make it right at all. But he was from Newport News, Virginia, which is a very, very rough neighborhood. Very rough neighborhood. And he came up in an environment where they did not view pit bulls as dogs. It wasn't like that. And very wrong. Don't get me wrong. But like, since he was a kid, that was a thing. They did that. Pit bulls are born to fight. Like in Mexico, they have cockfighting with roosters. Same shit. That's how they treated pit bulls. And so it was very stupid of him. It was very, very wrong. I'm in no way condoning it. But it's like, you have to have some empathy for like, he just was dumb enough to not step, like as a young athlete who thought he had the world by the balls, not step back and be like, wait, is this like a thing or is this not a thing?
Yeah.
He didn't ask that question. That was really, and it was very cruel, everything that happened. But once he got caught and like had to own up for everything, first of all, he was punished way worse than the sentencing guidelines are. He paid for it dearly and lost everything, and has handled everything phenomenally since then. I think has been a great example for people on and off the field. And I admire that. I like a comeback story like that, and I like people who are real about it. And in my opinion, he's been 100% real and 100% forthcoming on the whole thing, too.
Definitely.
So it's like, what more can you ask? And it's not just like, oh, you want to see your great athlete get back on the field. Of course we all do. But, you want to make sure you're watching good people.
Even if he never played another snap of football again, everything that he did to come back from that, I can respect. And the fact that he did come out and play, and he played very, very well, that just kind of, it's like the not fairy tale ending, but it's like that nice ending of he went through shit, he did everything he could to come back, and then he could still rebuild his career at the end. So
similar vibe, by the way. I remember watching that Green Bay game where he came in the second half in the Kelly Green when Kevin Cobb got hurt.
Yep.
Which was the start of that magical 2010 season. Very similar vibe feeling in that second half as the Iverson Kobe game. Because I didn't know, like, am I ever going to see this again? And I'm like, holy shit, Michael Vick just turned into Michael Vick again for like a minute. It turned out we had it for the whole season and then glimpses of it for the next few years. But you never know. And so when you have that moment where you're watching something like, holy shit, wow, that just happened, you got to appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But one thing I do want to talk about before we go is this upcoming football season and some way too early predictions.
Okay.
A specific question for you
right.
is and you're not allowed to say the San Diego Chargers for obvious reasons.
San Diego Chargers?
The Los Angeles, I'll never get that right. It's going to be the Oakland Raiders. It's going to be the San Diego Chargers. It's going to be the St. Louis Rams.
It's fine.
It's just how I'm going to be telling my kids, did you watch the St. Louis game today? I swear to God. Anyway, the LA Chargers, you're not allowed to say them for obvious reasons. Who are some dark horse teams this year that you think are maybe going to come out of nowhere or pseudo nowhere and actually contend?
So the two that initially come to my mind, they're not completely coming out of nowhere. Dolphins and Cardinals. Guaranteed playoff appearances this season.
I like those picks.
Yeah, the Cardinals, and I have to go back on my word a little bit because when JJ Watt originally picked the Cardinals, I sat there in my video and I said, I'm super confused by this. I said he wanted to go to a team that's a contender. I don't see it here. But from the way I trust him because I trust the way he looks at a team and the respect he has for Kyler Murray, the faith that he has in that organization, along with all of the other moves. They've been sneaky, subtle moves, but everything that they have done.
Thank you to the Houston Texans.
Yes. For fucking up royally on one. DeAndre Hopkins is one of, if not my favorite player. He just does it for me. So
it's phenomenal.
Absolutely. And he has one of the greatest stories. He is just a great human being. So the Cardinals are my dark horse.
And you're a big Kyler guy? Gal?
I wasn't. When he won Offensive Rookie of the Year, not last year, the year before,
yep.
I was livid. I was
really?
like, how can you skip? He didn't do anything. You had Josh Jacobs. You had DK Metcalf. You had Miles Sanders that I thought would have deserved it over him.
Yeah, it was the quarterback bias.
Yeah, it really was. And I was like, how can you take away? Because it's not MVP. It's not a quarterback thing, but it is a quarterback thing. And every once in a while you get Offensive Rookie of the Year. I don't think it has to be. And you had a handful of other guys that deserved it way more than him. Not saying he did anything wrong, but he just didn't do anything spectacular. He did nothing to knock my socks off. So I was pissed. So then I went into last season feeling I had this edge against him. I was just a little rough just because I was still a little butthurt from that, but he did everything he had to do to kind of earn my respect. And I was like, this kid has it. This kid has something. And I didn't know if his height was going to be an issue, and it still might down the road. But the connection that him and DeAndre already have after one season together was insane. And now all of the moves that they have made, their coaching, I just think they are totally moving in the right direction. And the Dolphins, I already went on my Dolphins rant. I just think this team is special. I just think they have this energy. And
they need Tua to be great, though.
They need Tua to be great. And I will say it right now. I think Tua, maybe not this season. I think this season he'll be good. But I think in the next couple of years, next 2 years, we'll see great from him. They're close. I definitely playoffs this season. But, I forget where I got so caught on my Dolphin. I literally love this team. No, I literally can't say enough great things about them. And the Cardinals, I'm not going to sit here and say they're going on a Super Bowl run right now, but I would say dark horse Super Bowl contenders.
This is the year I think they could be the NFC Championship game and make a run at it. And who knows, maybe fuck around and get in there because they do have a good team. I agree with you on Kyler. And it depends on the height thing now can at least go either way. I think in the past it really has hurt guys. I think it hurt Vick.
Yeah.
If Michael Vick were born at 6'3", he'd be the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. He was that good.
Yeah.
But there was always that because he also played low to the ground. Mm-hmm. And so it hurt him behind the line because he couldn't always see the field. Literally. You got to see over linemen and everything, and he didn't have that height. Russell Wilson has completely been able to not have a problem with that whatsoever. He also plays left to right. Kyler, to me, has a lot of the same Russell Wilson, also dark horse here with this Aaron Rodgers vibes. Aaron Rodgers does not get enough credit for playing outside the pocket. Mm-hmm. He's a great pocket quarterback, and I don't have percentages for you. I'm sure he plays a large percentage where he's able to stay in there. But Aaron Rodgers moves left to right and can play outside the pocket at such a fucking high level. Yeah. I'd have to go look at the analytics. I don't think I ever have. But, that's a thing because these quarterbacks, when they come up, they're taught 7-step drop, 5-step drop, get in there. Read the field, make your progressions. To be able to play on the fly and move left to right, that's a very special talent, and Kyler's got it.
Yes. And I also think, now this is also just a connections thing, but it felt like this season, him and DeAndre understood each other so well. And like, for example, and I know this is a 1 in a million, the Hail Murray against the Buffalo Bills.
Hail Murray. I love that.
I will never get over that. It literally was straight up trust, and he launched that thing. He could not. I fully believe he could not see. And he might have even said that he couldn't see. He was scrambling. I didn't even think he was going to get it off. And
that was the best throw of the season.
That was in. It wasn't number one, like at the end of the season, and it drove me. It was incredible because
his body was contorted.
Yes,
he threw from the right side because he's a righty.
Didn't he run like 10 yards back before even getting it off?
And his body, his hips were falling out of bounds, and his arms stayed cocked at with his pec, if you're watching right now, you can see what I'm doing. But his pec stretched, and he slung it 50 yards, falling down. And that was one of the most unbelievable throws I've ever seen in my life.
So I think, obviously height is important, but when, like you said, he has the Russell Wilson qualities, but I think the trust that he has in his teammates and the vibe that team is creating, everything that they're doing in Arizona, I think that is also going to be what takes them to the next level, because it reminds me of Eagles the year we won the Super Bowl. We had no business winning the Super Bowl that year. I know what you mean. The vibe and our energy and our confidence and our trust and that brotherhood, the underdog meant everything, that is what got us there. And that is sometimes what it takes. And so Arizona, for them to have all of this talent, but then to also seem to be building these great relationships and this trust in teammates, I think that is what's going to make them next level.
And their defense is pretty stacked now.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. Who else is on? JJ, Chandler Jones is on there. Who else? I'm blanking out.
Wait, I also, like I said, Baker Mayfield, not my favorite person ever. I don't even really want to go down this road, but also I'm kind of scared of the Browns this season. Just because
ODB's back.
Yeah. And can that defense with Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. Now, I know last season we didn't see Jadeveon Clowney looking like himself, but I think just having Myles Garrett on the opposite side of that, on the same defense, that will motivate him enough. And I think that's going to make him next level. And as an offense, how do you plan? How do you attack? That's scary to go up against.
Yeah. The Browns on paper are really fucking good.
Yes.
And did they re-sign Kareem Hunt?
I believe, I don't know. I
gotta check.
Yeah.
Because also with COVID still going on, free agency was it's not the same. Meaning I'm not tracking it like I usually do. Contracts were rolling out, I'd see news I guess free agency is still going on. It's not what's happening day one, It's just a different world.
Yeah, no, and this free agency was bizarre.
Yeah, he's still with the Cleveland Browns. Okay. Cuz he, his whole thing aside, he's obviously a great player though. They're stacked. They are very, very stacked, and I think Odell Beckham, I never know how rehab processes are going, but a couple things. He's one of the hardest workers in the entire league, which he doesn't get enough credit for. Secondly, ACL injuries still take a while to come back from, but it is not what it used to be. Guys can have no fucking problem being their full self just because of how far the medicine or the medical side of it's come. But I would look out for him to have a absolutely monstrosity of a season.
I don't know if he's going to stay.
You think he'll be gone before the season?
I think there's a chance. And I think it would honestly...
Trade, obviously.
Yeah. And I think it's smart for them because they don't necessarily, they don't need him. And we saw that from them towards the end of the season. They were playing well without him. They need Baker to keep stepping up. Their defense needs to keep, and it's going to be fine. So I'm not even worried about that. But think about what they could get for him. A team like our Eagles would give up whatever they could to get him. And I think he would fit well with us. And there's a couple other teams that definitely have the hole to fill and would need him. And then they can build up all this capital that keeps moving them in the right direction.
Where they can allocate it to other positions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still feel like just because of the vibe, they'd be selling low right now, and I don't think they're going to do that, and I think they're fucking curious. I think once they got clicking last year, I think they want to see what it's like with Beckham. Because I also felt don't get me wrong, he did some dumb things, always on the field, by the way. He's a he is a great guy off the field, which is unfair when they call him out for that shit because he is, and I know this for a fact. He does a lot of shit in the community, and he wants no recognition for it. Some of the stories I've heard about shit he's done, if people knew it, they'd be like, wow, like he's a hell of a guy. So that's always been unfair. He's just, like some of the stuff on the field with like, what was it, hugging the goalpost or not the goalpost, the practice field goal thing. Like, and I think it's overblown because it's him. But A, he knows he's got a short window to earn. B, he knows he plays football where he's got a helmet on as well at a skill position, so he can't market himself like other positions in other sports, by the way. So what does he do? He does the fucking blonde hair thing after the catch and brands himself forever. Yeah. Brilliant. I have no problem with that. And I also think he's this phenomenal player, and, I want to see him get the chance to show that again because I've always felt like that was underappreciated because he was a gamer in New York. They just had bad teams, and Eli at the end of his career was not great. Yeah. He really wasn't.
No, yeah. No, I like everything that he's doing there. I think, and that's what's so frustrating about them. And that's why I think it comes back to Baker as well, because it's not like Tom Brady on the Patriots that was making making things happen with Julian Edelman, random. Baker Mayfield has all of the options. And I think the problem Cleveland has had, they haven't had an identity for a while. They were definitely in an identity crisis. And you might not think when you have all that talent that matters, but it genuinely does. When you're going through coaches as crazy as they were, when they couldn't just be consistent. Now I think they're in a position where they can start defining who they are and take it to the next level. And I think this is the season that Baker has to step up. Because if he doesn't, with your defense as stacked as it is, with your offense as stacked as it is, there is no more excuses. And they have a great head coach now. There's no reason for this team to not be great.
Yeah, they showed a flash of it last year.
Yeah, we got it towards the end. They started, and there was a one point where I was like, I don't think the Ravens are making the playoffs. I thought the Browns were 100% in over the Ravens at one point, and I didn't think they could come back, and they did, and it was fine because I'm a big Lamar person.
I love Lamar. Yeah. I think Lamar's continually gotten, people said, oh, you didn't win the MVP last year, you took a step back. No, I think he's become such a better quarterback since the day he stepped into the league, because you always knew that he was this crazy athlete. He could just do crazy shit. But his arm strength was phenomenal. It was just a matter of how refined is he going to get with actually touch passes and things like that. And dude, I think he's really good.
Yes, and I'm so glad. I knew that the Ravens weren't going to be a Super Bowl team. That halfway through, you just saw it. They didn't have it. There was some issue. They got screwed with COVID. They had a lot of shit to deal with throughout the season, and it was affecting them. They didn't look like the Ravens that they did the season prior. So I just knew this wasn't a Super Bowl team, but all I wanted was them to get into the playoffs and Lamar to have a playoff win under his belt, because now you can wipe all of that mental shit from his head. He knows he did it. You don't have that stereotype or that storyline anymore. He accomplished that, and I think that clears the way for them to make the steps moving forward.
Ravens are going to be an interesting team, and I've always been a Harbaugh guy. So I think he's done a nice job bridging different generations of that team too. Mm-hmm. That's hard to do, because when they won a Super Bowl and then you end up taking steps back and stuff, it's hard to keep the locker room as the same face. It's just a natural thing. But he's been there, I guess, 13-ish years now, something like that. He's been there a long time, done a great job, and obviously former Eagles guy, so I root for him.
Yeah, but so many are former Eagles guys.
But listen, I'm going to have you in at the beginning of the season to go over some stuff. But this was awesome. I have not been able to have a pure sports conversation yet on here. I have another guy coming in a few weeks who I know we're going to do that with, but it's nice to be able to do this again and also feel like we might, knock on wood here, have somewhat of a normal season coming up across our sports where there's fans and shit's getting back to normal. Again, knock on wood.
Fingers crossed.
It's nice to have a preview so early on. And Jordyn, thanks for doing this.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I needed this. It's like the perfect therapy session.
Oh, that's exactly that's what we do in the bunker. We talk things out. But by the way, before you go, tell people where they can find your podcast and your YouTube channel, and I'll put the links in the description as well.
Perfect. Yeah. So my YouTube channel, I post weekly. I'm Sporty Jordy, all one word, on YouTube. You can find my Twitter for that at the Sporty Jordy, and my Instagram, which I post all the time. Instagram, if you need me, that's where to find me. I'm at @_Sporty Jordy. And then every Wednesday night, I co-host a podcast called Onside Chicks. My co-host is Kaylee. We stream live on YouTube and Twitch Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time.
And when are the episodes available after that? Like for
I believe
download?
I believe it's that night or the next morning. Whenever,
wow.
Yeah.
Like you guys turn it right around.
Yes, we get it up. So
love it.
It's usually, worst case scenario, it's usually the next morning. But usually as soon as we're done, they're ready. Apple, Spotify, and then our Instagram for that's Onside Chicks, and our Twitter is Onside Chicks Pod.
I'm gonna have to watch you on Twitch too, because I really have never been on Twitch, but it's a wild community on there.
Yes, no, and that's where we get, because we use StreamYard to put, so we get comments and we can see what people are saying, and it's been crazy the interaction, because we didn't really promote it. We kind of decided to do it and then just started doing it, and it's been slow, but it's growing, and Twitch is crazy to me, and it's
ballsy what you guys are doing too, because it's it's a sausage fest in there.
Yeah,
you're going into uncharted waters, but I think it's genius. And if that was your producer's idea, genius.
Yeah, shout out to Evan for that one,
because that you guys are definitely going to hit a niche that not a lot of people are touching in there, and you guys really you guys got to listen to this podcast. They'll talk you under the table with football. So I'm just saying. But Jordyn, thank you. We'll do it again.
Thank you.
Everybody else, you know what it is. Give it a thought. Get back to me. Peace.